So let's just go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Go. Alright, so there's about 2.5 minutes of intro to this game, so I'll go ahead and kind of explain how this run works. So, any percent in Super Mario Galaxy 2, as you can tell from the estimate, if you haven't looked at the schedule, is 3 hours long, and the reason why is because we need to collect 70 stars in order to unlock the final Bowser level, so a lot like the first Galaxy and also like SN64. And from there, we have to collect the final star from Bowser's Galaxy Generator to actually beat the game. So this is a 71-star run if you must. And within a minute of the game's story, we're going to be introduced to this little Luma guy, and he's going to go into Mario's hat and give us the ability to spin. And spinning basically lets us do everything in this game. We can gain more height out of jumps, you can hit switches, you can take launch stars, you can kill enemies. You basically can't beat the game without it. So coming up is the first trick of the run right here. Let's see if I can get it. Nice, I got it. So that's a slope boost. I'll be going for a couple more of those throughout the run. So unlike Galaxy 1, you can't climb up slopes in this game, which is kind of unfortunate, but there's really not much of a use for it anyways. But in this game, if you have a high amount of speed and then you jump within the first few frames of landing on a slope, you can gain quite a bit of speed. And so, you'll be seeing me do that a few more times in this run. So on this cutscene, I just briefly want to say that there's been a lot of minor optimizations made to this game recently over the course of the past year or so. Most, in large part, thanks to the current world record holder, Nemi43. There's also been several changes made to the route recently. So if you've not been following this game a whole lot recently, but you've seen like me run at this at marathons before, then it's gonna seem slightly different. There's not too anything major, just a ton of tiny stuff all over the place. So coming up, there's a potential for a text skip. I'm not really gonna go for it, but I might get it by chance. So on this next set of 4 text boxes, if you waste a few frames on the first 2, and then get the third one frame perfect, you can skip the 4th one. I'm not gonna get it. Yeah, I didn't get it. It involves a frame perfect input in 60 frames per second, so it's not really worth going for. But it can be a pretty nice time save. And with that, we're going to be heading off to the first level of the run, Sky Station 1. And this is a pretty action-packed star right from the get-go. So unlike Galaxy 1, we don't have to do a very long tutorial level, we just get shot right into the action. So first skip of the run right here, instead of going to the bottom half of this planet, I can just long jump and wall jump onto here. And I'm going to stand still after this Luma's done talking to me, because that's going to make this cutscene end about half a second earlier, so I can enter the launch star a little bit sooner. So here you're going to see the camera kind of twitch when I land, and that's actually me going into first-person mode as soon as I land, and then canceling out of it immediately, which actually cancels the landing animation, and I'm going to be doing that almost every time I land from a launch star. It takes about 1 second each time you do it, but it adds up over the course of the run. And that's a trick called Luma Bounce. So what I did there was I did a homing ground pound, which is basically a spin followed by a ground pound. And then I bounced off that Luma, and it's allowed me to skip the launch star that it normally activates. It saves 10 minutes, or I'm sorry, 1 second. And if you fail it, you die. But it's early on in the run, it's only a little difficult, and it's cool to show off, but so it's worth going for sure. And right there, you saw me pick up the first of 32 Comet Medals I'm going to be getting into this run. I'll get more into what those are later in the game, but just for now, understand that I'm going to be wanting to pick those up whenever I happen to come across them. And with that, we're going to be heading off to the first fight of the run. This is Pee-wee Piranha. So for this fight, you're intended to spin at Pee-wee's shell 2 or 3 times to break it, but instead, I'm just going to ground pound the entire shell and just shatter it in 1 hit. That was actually a bit of an early ground pound, so I'm surprised that worked. On this second phase, it's a little bit easier to get the early hit because he runs away a lot slower. And there we go. So that is 1 star down out of 71. Something I should probably bring up right now is that this game has a lot of downtime, and that's part of the reason why this run is so long. There's on average about 45 seconds to a minute in between stars. So get comfy, because we're in for the long haul here. One nice thing about this game compared to Galaxy 1 is that in the lower right-hand corner you're going to see a little timer, and that's actually the IL time I got for that star, so that's really useful if you want to grind out ILs, or if you're practicing this game and you're wanting to get consistency down, that's a good basis to use. So here we've got some story exposition. I'm just going to skim through this text because it's not important. Basically, just know that this fat purple idiot that's on my screen right now, his name is Lubba. But we're going to call him Purple Idiot because that's what he is. This is just some kind of sob story about how he and his crew ran into Bowser, and apparently he took all their stars or some crap. And it doesn't matter which option you choose there, both of them give the same result. So now he's going to use the power of this one star to transform this crappy thing that I guess is a spaceship into the main hub world of the game, which is Starship Mario. So whenever we're on Starship Mario, there's going to be a bunch of NPCs that get unlocked and some other goodies throughout the course of the game, but we're not going to care about any of that, and instead our goal is just going to be to get to that yellow button as soon as possible anytime we're on the Starship. So right here I'm going to hold down after these text boxes clear, because that's going to make Mario face the camera, and it's going to allow me to backflip to the helm. That's usually what I'm going to do whenever I'm right there and I need to get to the button. Sometimes you're facing away from the camera, but usually I'll just turn Mario around. And then the Purple Idiot will sometimes bring you to other parts of the Starship, but that's neither here nor there for now. So now we're going to head to this Super Mario Bros. 3-esque world map, which is how we're going to get from galaxy to galaxy in this game. It's a bit more convenient, I'd say, than Galaxy 1, even though it's not quite as interesting. So we have two options as to where to go next, and we're actually going to go to Sky Station again. We're going to get Sky Station 2. So something I'm going to explain right now is whenever there's a clear star on the star select menu, I'm actually going to point my Wii Remote off screen and just mash A, and that will allow me to automatically select it like that. There's going to be a few instances in the game where I'm going to need to have my Wii Remote pointed at the screen, but for the most part, you're just going to be seeing me auto-select whenever I get the chance. So the star is Sky Station 2. I'm going to long jump over this fence, and there's a pretty tight chomp cycle I want to catch. Hopefully I can get it. Nice, I barely got it. So I want to give a quick shout out to OddMe, who found a text skip that is not really replicatable in this situation, where you can actually skip that text box and get the launch star to just appear right away. Again, it's completely worthless because it hasn't really been replicated. So on this planet, I want to have a pretty good movement here because the platforms inside are on cycles, and I want to try to make the fastest cycle, obviously. Right, skipping that 1-up doesn't really matter. You get a text box for the first 1-up you collect, but I'm basically guaranteed to get a 1-up at some point in the run anyways. So skipping that text box isn't really something that's important. So right here we have flip switches. When you activate all of them, they kind of give you something, in this case, more flip switches. And here's the first appearance of Cosmic Clones. These guys copy your inputs frame perfectly. So they're not so bad here, but they can make backtracking really difficult later on in the game. So this last planet pretty much speaks for itself. There's not a whole lot I have to say about it. So while I'm here, I am going to explain some other tech that you'll see me go for a few times in this run. So I mentioned camera, how you can use first-person mode to cancel landing animations earlier in the run. There's actually another way you can cancel landing animations that I will go for at the start of various stars. If you jump on a specific frame when Mario lands, you can jump out of the landing animation. So I'll be going for that for most stars, but it's frame perfect at 60 frames per second, so I probably won't get it more than like 5 times, if any. But you'll see me go for that quite a few times, so I'm basically just going to be mashing A whenever I enter a galaxy. So that star isn't nearly as flashy as Sky Station 1, but it's got some cool tricks and some cool movement in it as well. So here's going to be an instance where I turn Mario around to face the camera so he can backflip to the helm like that. I'm not entirely sure if that's faster, but I'm just used to doing it by now. So now we're going to be heading off to Yoshi Star Galaxy, where we have the most broken character in this game, and his name is Yoshi. So in this game, you can get on Yoshi, and he has a little flutter jump like he does in most Mario games, but normally you're not able to flutter immediately after another flutter, but you can crouch in midair in this game, and that not only cancels the flutter, but it also cancels the cooldown timer that normally persists between flutters. So you actually are able to flutter immediately right away, and you can chain this for as long as you want. And this is called infinite fluttering, and it basically breaks every level that Yoshi is in, and you will see why very shortly. So here I'm going to go for a really tough skip that saves about 20 seconds and loses 45 if you miss it. So I'm going to be a little bit quieter because I'm going to want to focus. But yeah, here's a bit of a demonstration of infinite fluttering. Alright, I got it first try. Nice. So yeah, that flutter in particular is very tricky because you need to get the bounce off of that berry, and in order to not eat the berry, you need to press B to stick Yoshi's tongue out right before you land on it. And yeah, it's pretty tough. And there are a lot of very small subtleties to infinite fluttering that make it so difficult to really master. Right here I'm using infinite fluttering to gain some height so that I can get up to that area. So when you're infinite fluttering sideways, the best angles to hold to get momentum are slightly sideways and also in the direction of Yoshi's back. But the problem is, after about 10 seconds in the air, Yoshi will lose almost all of his momentum and will only be able to flutter slowly to the front or side from there on out. So that's actually why at the end of that flutter, I dismounted off of Yoshi, because when you dismount off of Yoshi, you maintain all of the momentum you had going into the dismount. So that can allow you to gain a little bit of extra distance, and you'll see me do that for a few flutters. It's sometimes key to getting the skips to work. But yeah, I make infinite fluttering look easy. It takes a long time to get down. So now we're going to be heading off to Yoshi Star 2. This is probably the biggest infinite flutter skip in the game. So in Yoshi Star 1, we used infinite fluttering to skip one planet. Here we're basically going to get on Yoshi and then infinite flutter straight to the boss planet. This flutter isn't nearly as complicated as the flutter in Yoshi Star 1, but there is an awkward camera change midway through that I have to be mindful of. So we're just going to make my way straight over to the Yoshi egg up ahead and then just flutter straight to the boss planet. That shake I'm doing at the start of flutters, by the way, is giving me a little bit of acceleration at the start of the flutter. Right. So I managed to get that flutter pretty good. So now here we have a Giga Key 2, the first pointer-based boss in this game. Something you'll find is that I'm not very fond of motion controls or the pointer in this game, but here I have to deal with it. So you just gotta eat these spinies and then aim them and shoot them right back at him. So here I'm gonna try a completely useless glitch. Nice, I got it first try. If you uncrouch and spin on the same frame while riding on Yoshi, you get this cool little sliding state. It is completely useless, but it looks cool, so I like doing it here. So here I'm gonna try to get an early hit. I'm gonna hit two of these spinies one time. And I'm going to shoot the first one at Giga Key 2, and then get the second one in Yoshi's mouth before the first one makes contact. And this is going to set me up to where I'm going to be able to fire the spiny at him right away, and skip having to wait for him to throw out a couple extra spinies for me to throw. I waited there you can fire that shot a lot earlier, but I just waited there just to play it safe. It loses minimal time. And that's Yoshi Star 2. So far we've made it out of the early portion of the run pretty well. Those first 4 splits can be pretty difficult to get out of when doing attempts, so I'm really happy with how they went. This is a really nice start to the run. And now we're going to be able to move forward into World 1. So next up we're going to go to Spin Dig Galaxy, where we're going to be introduced to the first of Mario's actual power-ups in this game, the Spin Drill. So when you have the Spin Drill, this is a power-up that's new to Galaxy 2. you basically can, if there's dirt on the planet you're on, you can spin and you will drill straight through the planet, and you'll pop up on the other side of the planet if you're able to. And you're intended to use this a lot in this star, but what you're going to realize about this game very quickly is that Nintendo really didn't take into account the fact that Mario can jump when designing a lot of these levels, so you're going to be seeing me do a lot of skips that are really just jumping to get to where I need to go. Like right here, instead of using the spin drill, I'm just going to do a triple jump. Like that. So on this next plane, I'm going to utilize another homing ground pound, which again is just a spin followed by a ground pound that will home in under the nearest item, enemy, or NPC. And in this case, I'm going to do it off this drill just to get a little bit of extra momentum when collecting it. Nice, I got the clip there. So I'm going to do that same clip again right here. I'm going to jump backwards into the corner of this pillar here, and it will clip me inside of it. So I pop up on the other side, like that. And that just saves a few seconds of walking. So this next planet is pretty straightforward, so I'll go ahead and explain something you probably caught onto by now, and that's that I'm actually avoiding coins whenever possible and shooting out my star bits. I actually don't need to collect star bits at all in this run, and you'll find out why later. But the reason why I'm going to be trying to shoot out star bits is if you have star bits or coins in your inventory after finishing a star, then text boxes will appear that waste about 1 second each time. So I want to minimize how often I get those text boxes. So right here is probably the most hilarious skip in the entire game. Here, Captain Toad wants to talk to us, but screw that. We're just going to go into first-person mode and shoot him in the face. And that's actually why I had star bits stored there. So that saves a few seconds, and it looks pretty funny. So here's Dig-a-Leg. This boss is the first real instance of RNG in this run. It's not too significant if I get good or bad RNG, but it can make a difference up to a few seconds. So for this for these next two phases, I'm going to be pressing up against Dig-a-Leg. I actually want him to jump on top of me, like that. And this will cause him to jump to the other side of the battlefield and become vulnerable right away. Like that. And I also want to keep those yellow enemies alive if possible, because then he won't try to spawn anymore before he becomes vulnerable. Oh, I didn't get good RNG there, but there's a little bit of a backup, or if I just stand still, he'll stop early. Alright, so that second phase wasn't optimal, but still a pretty good fight all around. And the star's right over there. I could walk all the way to it, but I'm a speedrunner and I'm lazy, so we're just going to drill to it instead. And because of hitboxes, Mario will just pop up right into the star. That was a really good spin dig overall. So this is the first instance of the Purple Idiot bringing us to the bottom of the starship instead of the top. Usually he brings us down here if there's a new NPC here. For the most part, we don't really care about any of that. We're just going to try to get back to the yellow button as soon as possible. And there's a few different movement options you have, but I believe what I'm doing is the fastest, where you just long jump in the up-left direction. So yeah, he's going to bother us a lot in this run, so just be ready for that. Heads up. So I'm just going to long jump my way back here. And now we're going to be heading off to the next galaxy, which is going to be Right Side Down. So Right Side Down is a pretty interesting galaxy because it kind of toys with the idea of gravity. So if I'm in an area with blue arrows and the gravity is on the floor, if they're red and pointing up, then the gravity's on the ceiling. I like to say Right Side Down 1 is the level Nintendo meant for you to break, because there's a lot of skips here that are just a result of really convenient level design and really convenient object placement. And this is a pretty cool level to watch. So to start off, we've got this really cool backflip that, if I do it right, will get me all the way down to this flower. So here I'm supposed to hit that lever to switch the direction of gravity, but there's a conveniently placed item block right there that allows me to get all the way down to where I need to go instead. I'm going to go for another slow boost here. Got it. Nice. Here I'm supposed to hit another gravity switch to reverse the direction of gravity, but these elevators are, again, conveniently placed right next to where I need to go, like that. So there's two pretty big skips in this level already. So right here I'm going to be going for a pretty difficult strat. You're supposed to use Fire Mario to break all these boxes, but I'm going to try to instead skip having to break some of them by going underneath them. Okay, I messed up my setup there, so I'm not going to go for that. I won't go for this one, though. This one's a little bit easier. There we go. Now we're just going to make our way through here. Going for those box skips is a little risky, because if you get crushed in this game, it doesn't matter how much health you have, you die no matter what. And here I can just skip the entire rest of this section by just jumping on the wall here. You're actually supposed to be able to go up there, and the reason why we know that is because there's one-ups in the four corners. So that's it for that level. That didn't go terribly, aside from messing up the first box skip. But the setup for it is a lot more precise than the setup for the second one, so I just bailed out on it, which is fine. Now I'm going to re-enter right side down for the hidden or secret star. And because there's no clear star for me to select here, I'm just going to have to point my Wii Remote at the screen to select the star. I'm going to be able to skip the level intro cutscenes because I've already seen them, which is very convenient. So I'm just going to be spamming A here. So after I do this backflip again, once again I'm just going to, instead of hitting the gravity switch to get into the pipe, I'm just going to jump and wall jump into it. Like that. And we're going to head to the secret room here. So here we have the first of 2 box breaking mini games. So here you just have to blow up all these boxes with Fire Mario in a time limit. This is pretty hard for casuals to do, and doing it optimally is actually incredibly difficult. You have to throw the fireballs in really precise angles and in really precise spots in order to not miss any shots. Mario just didn't throw a fireball there for some reason. Alright, 11's not too bad. The best you can get on that minigame is barely a 14, and if I do it perfectly, I usually get around a 12, so 11's not too bad. I'll definitely accept that. And that's it for right side down. So, well, the Purple Idiot's going to introduce us to a character here that you're going to want to keep in mind for the next few stars, because he'll be important in a little bit. I'm not going to say too much about him yet. This Toad is going to be important later. Just keep that in mind. But the Purple Idiot is still not important. So next we're going to go on to Fluffy Bluff. We're going to be introduced to another power-up that's new to this game, and a fan-favorite power-up, the Cloud Flower, and it has its own set of broken physics. So to start, I'm actually going to do the secret star here. This is the first Hungry Coin Luma in the game, but weirdly it requires the most coins, but there's also 2 really convenient locations where you can go to get coins. I have to feed 100 coins to this guy. So first I gotta make my way over to get the Cloud Flower, and then I'm gonna make my way over to a pipe where I can get about 60 of the coins. And if I long jump into that Cloud Flower, I can get Mario to face the camera like that. And since Mario accelerates faster when going backwards, I can use that to get a little bit of extra acceleration. So here I have to, these coin sets are all on a timer, and if I let the time run out, I am actually going to have to ditch this star, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this star first. Even though it technically isn't really faster. So I'm going to get to 60 coins, and then I'm going to leave the room, because I can get the remaining 40 on the Cloud where the Hungry Luma is. And after that, we're going to feed them to the Hungry Luma, and he's going to burst with snacky happiness and transform into a planet, because that makes sense. Nintendo logic, don't question it. There's a lot of interesting tech you can do with the Cloud Flower, and I'll kind of explain some of it after I finish this star. But for now, we're going to head off to this planet here. I'm just going to shut up and let the movement here kind of speak for itself, because this planet looks really sick when you perform it well. It's basically going to be a large vertical climb with clouds. That was really good. So, a couple things of tech with Cloud Mario. So, first of all, Whenever I spin to make a cloud, I'm actually going to crouch as soon as I make the cloud, because that will cancel the cloud making animation and allow me to move a lot quicker. And that will also allow me to utilize the upwards bounce of this cloud, because in the Galaxy games, there's a mechanic where if the platform underneath you is moving, that platform's momentum is applied to your jumps, so if the platform's moving up, your jumps will go a lot higher. And you'll be seeing me use that a lot in this run for some pretty interesting exploits. So, Fluffy Bluff 1, this is going to be one of the few galaxies where I don't collect the Comet Medal, and that's because Fluffy Bluff 1 has a really big skip in it that takes use of cloud momentum. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this here with the triple jump so that I only have to use one cloud to get up here. And you're not supposed to go up here for this star, but it's going to be very clear why I'm doing so here in a second, because goodbye rest of the level. And if I do this right, I can get to the top platform of the last planet of this galaxy, like that. So now we're going to do a cloud-boosted long jumps like that. So again, utilizing the cloud's bounce that it makes when you make a cloud, you can make a cloud while grounded and do a long jump, and your long jump gains a lot more height and distance, like that. So to kind of explain the tech that goes into that skip, so when you're Cloud Mario and you long jump from the center of a cloud and you're floating above an abyss, your jump actually gains quite a bit of horizontal momentum while you're in the air. And so that's kind of essential to being able to cross that large distance with the clouds. And this is the first star. Certain stars where you use power-ups bring you down here to the engine room, which is the most useless room in the star. So basically the Purple Idiot is going to show us a power-up that we unlocked in a glass dome. We can't actually use the power-up. We're just able to stare at it and gloat about it, I guess. And we don't care about it, so we're just going to yeet on out of here. We'll make our way back to the button. This movement can be somewhat awkward, though. That went pretty well. Now we're going to be heading on to the boss level of World 1. So each of the 6 worlds in this run has a boss level. They alternate between Bowser Jr. and Bowser stages, and they're all usually really, really difficult. This stage in particular is regarded as not... This stage has what is regarded as one of the most difficult bosses in the game, Gobblegut. Thankfully we don't have to fight the version of him that's on fire in this run, but we're not going to talk about that. So on this stage here, I have to make pretty difficult and tight movement because I want to try to catch a cycle with that thwomp there. That takes about 4-ish seconds. So I'm going to try to focus here. It's super easy to die when doing this movement. Alright. And then I can get up here. And the gravity field of the boss planet is huge for no real reason, so we can just long jump straight to it and skip the entire level. Just like that. So now we're going to fight Gobblegut. So the basic premise of this boss is that it has 6 bellyache bulges, and normally you're supposed to have Gobblegut dig his face into the ground, and then as the bulges get stuck, you spin them at them and you can hit them. But you can actually attack Gobblegut while he's in the air, and to do this optimally, you have to do this in very specific ways, and if you mess up like one input, you can lose like up to 20 seconds. So here I'm going to try to hit bulges 5, 6, and 1 in order. This is very precise. So there's 5, there's 6, we're going to get 1 here. So now in the second phase, I'm going to run down and in a straight line, which is going to make Gobblegut follow me and get closer and closer to the planet. And then I'm going to turn around at a specific time and get the last 3 bulges back to back to back. There's 1, there's 2, and perfect Gobblegut. Very nice. I made that fight look way easier than it actually is. That fight, takes a very long time to get down. But it looks really impressive if you can pull it off. And with the collection of this Grand Star, that'll signify the end of World 1. That was a really solid World 1. So I hope you enjoyed this cutscene that's about to play, because you're going to have to see it after each of the first 5 worlds in this run. Again, there's a lot of downtime in this game. So every boss level is going to have a Grand Star. And it's going to be the Grand Stars that allow us to travel from world to world. So now we're going to be heading on to World 2. We're not going to be spending too much time in World 2 for now, but there's a few interesting stars in this segment of the run. So to start off World 2, we really have no choice but to go to Puzzle Plank, so we're going to do Puzzle Plank 1. This galaxy has a really slapping song in it, but there's not too much to say about this galaxy right away, so what there is in this star, I'll kind of get to it when we get to it. So here we go. This galaxy, again, is pretty much movement-based, with a few minor sequence breaks here and there, and again, the song is really awesome and pretty catchy. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard it before. There's been a lot of memes that have been inspired by it. So to start here, we just gotta ground pound a couple of puzzle pieces and stuff to unlock some stuff. So I'm on this next planet, I'm going to do a backflip spin to get into the launch star without going to the bottom half of the planet. An important thing to note about spin heights in this game is that whenever you're spinning, if you want to gain more height, you actually want to be holding A. But if you're going to be playing as Mario, which I'm going to be doing for this entire run, you actually want to spin using the Wii remote to gain the most height, but with Luigi, you actually want to spin with this nunchuck. And of course, they don't explain that anywhere, because why would they? I'm going to do a bit of a triple jump to skip having to wall kick up there. This section is really scary. It's really easy to get hit by these buzzsaws, and sometimes they can just knock you off the stage. Part of the reason why I went out of my way to grab the checkpoint earlier. Alright, we're good. So this last planet is really weird because of the gravity on these puzzle pieces. Sometimes it's possible to hit these puzzle pieces more than one time in a single ground pound. It's pretty rare when it does happen, but it can save a little bit of time. It's pretty random too. Yeah, like that. That's a double ground pound. Again, it's really unknown why that happens, and it's kind of rare, but it can save a little bit of time if you get it. Now I have to fight this little mini boss from Galaxy 1. It's pretty simple. Just do that. And we just killed the child, and now we're going to kill the parent, because we're mean. Thanks for the star, though. Pretty good puzzle plank all around. So, up next, Purple Idiot is going to take us through an unskippable world map sequence where he's going to explain the grand world map to us, and this is actually going to be pretty useful for later on in the run. So the grand world map is basically a tool that allows you to, instead of being able to just travel from galaxy to galaxy, you can actually travel in between each individual world. And this is useful because let's say I'm in World 5 and I want to get to World 1. Instead of having to go all the way through every single world, I can just open up the grand world map and travel straight from World 5 to World 1. I'm not going to start jumping worlds until midway through World 3, but it's going to be very useful to know for later on in the run. So here's Hytale Falls Galaxy. This is a pretty fun looking galaxy, both to speedrun and to watch. It introduces the Dash Pepper power-up, which when Yoshi eats the Dash Pepper, he goes really, really, really fast. And also he can travel up walls, because apparently that's tied to going really fast. I'm also going to be collecting Starbits during this star, just because you can't spit out Starbits while you're on Yoshi, and there's a ton of them, so might as well. That's a jump cancel, by the way, so that's what I've been mashing A for at the start of every star. So we're going to get on Yoshi here. And the Dash Pepper's effects actually persist between launch stars, so I'm going to try to keep this effect going for as long as possible. And I'm going to try to preserve this for as long as I can. Alright, that was a little bit slow, but that should be fine. So here I'm going to travel up the left path because there's a Dash Pepper here that's on the way. This is pretty risky though. If you bonk head first on a wall while going up a slope, you fall all the way down and you lose a ton of time. Alright, so on this next planet, I'm going to go for a relatively new Infinite Fluttershy that was found by JDA7. So if you jump off these platforms as they're falling down with Dash Pepper momentum, you can actually maintain that momentum while Infinite Fluttering forward, and so you can do this. You have to hold very specific angles in order to not lose all of your momentum. Alright, I got the flutter. It's That's something I just recently implemented in the runs, but it works pretty cool. Pretty difficult snag at the common metal here. I'm going to spin to make it a little bit easier. And don't blink. Oh. Okay. So that ending strat there, that's basically, earlier I said that when you dismount off of Yoshi, you maintain all the momentum you had going into the dismount. So that's that applied to dismounting off of Dash Yoshi while going up a really steep slope. You get a lot of height and distance from that. And it looks really impressive. So you basically just fling yourself right into the star. And that skips quite a bit of that final section. Now we're going to be heading on to Cosmic Cove, the first water level of the game. This galaxy has got soothing music, so it's kind of a resident sleeper level, but not really, because there's a bit more low-hanging fruit in this galaxy. And there's pretty interesting routing here, too. So on this first star, I'm actually going to be collecting 15 coins in order to feed a Hungry Luma, but I'm not actually going to be taking its launch star yet, and I'll explain why once I feed it. So at the start here, I'm going to take a bit of a detour to get these star bits and the scuba shell. And if you shoot these little worm enemies with star bits and kill them, as opposed to just killing them by shining the shell's light at them, you get coins instead of star bits. And I'm gonna want to do this twice. So we're gonna go over here. So in this game, unlike Galaxy 1, there's actually a cooldown between underwater spins, so you can't just spam spins underwater. So taking the shell is actually better than spinning underwater, and you also get to do... Oh, I did not mean to miss that coin. There we go. You also have to do significantly less exercise with it, so that's a plus. So with the way everything's placed in this level, you have this gigantic group of coins that's placed right next to the common metal, and the common metal is actually placed next to the switch that freezes the lake, which is placed right next to where the Hungry Luma is. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and collect the 15 coins, and then I'm going to hit the switch to freeze the lake, and then go over and feed the Hungry Luma, and then just go ahead and get the Cosmic Cove 1 and do Cosmic Cove Secret next. So I'm going to feed this Hungry Luma, but I'm not going to take its launch star yet. So that'll be saved for the next star. For the time being, again, I'm just going to do Cosmic Cove 1. So we're just going to skate my way over there. And then we're going to wall jump up here and make our way to the star. Unfortunate about that missed coin, but other than that, it's still pretty solid. Alright, so now we're coming up to one of the most important parts of this entire run, and that's remembering to not auto-select here. So throughout this entire run so far, I've been auto-selecting gray stars just for convenience. I actually don't want to try doing that here, because then I'll select Cosmic Cove 2, and I don't have access to the areas I would need to have access to for Cosmic Cove Secret. So I would have to sit through the level intro cutscenes, and then wait until Mario lands and then exit out, and it wastes about 30 plus seconds, so I just have to remember to point my Wii Remote at the screen and select Cosmic Cove 1 instead. So serious time here. Luckily I always remind myself, so hopefully I don't mess this up. Alright, there we go, we're good now. And again, I can skip the level intro cutscenes because I've already seen them. So I'm just going to make a beeline straight over to that launch star that I unlocked in the last star. And I have to wait in between spins here. This is not me just waiting to spin again because I'm lazy. That's actually how long you have to wait. And on the way over to the launch star, I'm going to kill a few of these worm enemies to get some star bits for a strat I'm going to be doing on the Hungry Luma's planet. So if you've ever played Galaxy 1, you probably remember the bunnies and how terrible they were. This is the only one in this game. And it's got a pretty fast strat for it that's a little tricky to do, but hopefully I can show it off. That should work. Nice, got it. So you're supposed to hit a switch to freeze the lake and then skate to catch the bunny, but if you shoot the bunny with star bits, for some reason it just runs the wrong way. and it will run right into you, and that allows you to catch it early. So that strat saves a few seconds, but it's kind of tight, and you have to aim at a specific point on the screen in order to actually hit the bunny. And if you mess it up, then you just have to hit the switch to briefly, because it's kind of hard to back it up. So now we're gonna get some star bits from the Bank Toad. So this is the Toad I told you to keep in mind earlier. So the star bits I'm getting from this guy, this is the reason why I don't have to collect star bits in any levels, is because I'm just going to be getting star bits from another save file. This is kind of a new game plus sort of thing, but it's the standard for running this game, so it's what everybody does pretty much. And I need about 4,800 for the run in total, so I need about that many. And I'm going to be using these star bits to unlock Hungry Luma Galaxies. Now, the process for unlocking Hungry Luma Galaxies takes quite a bit of time, and there are other alternative stars you could do, but the thing with these Hungry Luma Galaxies, they usually net us some really fast stars. So they're definitely worth going out of your way to unlock. So for example, this galaxy I'm about to unlock, Honeybloom, nets us the fastest star in the game, not counting the green stars. If I do it optimally, it's less than 20 seconds long. Another thing I should point out is that this is, if you're familiar with the old route for SMG2 any%, this is where the route divergence starts to happen. Because normally after Cosmic Cove we would go to Boulder Bowl, but I'm actually going to be saving Boulder Bowl for after I do World 4. And I'm going to be doing an extra star in this galaxy instead of Supermassive 1 in World 4. So this first star is, again, pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going to let it speak for itself. The star looks pretty impressive when pulled off optimally and takes under 20 seconds in game time. So I'm just going to shut up and let you enjoy it. Nice. Yeah, that star is very, very fast, so it's definitely worth going out of the way to unlock. And here there's going to be an overlapping of events, so because I just got Honeybloom's secret, well, the Purple Idiot's going to bring me down to the starship to see an NPC, but also because I got 15 stars, I'm going to get a letter from the Mailtoad. And once the Purple Idiot's done talking to me here, I'm going to warp straight to the Mailtoad to get that letter. And that's just going to save a few seconds in travel time. So we're going to be utilizing a similar concept one more time in this run. So now we're going to do Honeybloom 1. So this star, it used to be believed that this star wasn't fast enough to replace Supermassive 1, and it really isn't. It's slower in game time than Supermassive 1, but that time loss is mostly balanced out from being able to skip the level intro cutscenes. And if you play this star fast enough, you can gain a couple small extra benefits from it that I'll explain at the end of the star. This star is entirely in 2D, so there's really nothing we can do in terms of major sequence breaks, except try to play as much of it as possible without the Bee Mushroom. And this section right here is really difficult, so you're not normally able to stand on these clouds and flowers without the Beast power-up, but you have a few frames where you're able to jump off of them. And this section right here is probably the hardest section. This jump is really risky. Got it. Nice. That jump's very hard. So here we have no choice but to use Being Mario, because we need him to get through this section of the level. And Bee Mario's flight is, unfortunately, very, very slow. Here I'm going to intentionally take damage from this Choppa so I can lose the Bee power-up so I can get through this section a little bit quicker. I was trying to long jump over that Bee Mushroom. It doesn't really matter. There's not really a time difference between taking the Bee Mushroom and not taking it. So the rest of this level is just going to be me flying around with Bee Mario. So I'll go ahead and explain why doing this star saves time instead of Supermassive, because, again, this star is longer. But the thing is, not doing Supermassive 1 means I can skip both a Comet Spawn cutscene and a world map and a Path Unlock cutscene on the world map, which save about 5 seconds each. And in addition, doing Honeybloom 1 now means I can do Boulder Bowl 1 later in the route, which means I can actually end World 4 one Comet Medal short than before, which will allow me to skip a Comet Spawn cutscene by having it overlap with a Grand Star cutscene following collecting a Grand Star. So that saves another 5 seconds or so. So again, it's just those tiny things that end up making the star just worth it for the any percent route. And that was a really good Honeymoon one, all in all. That's a very, very challenging star. It's very hard to do fast enough to make it worth it for doing in any percent runs. So I'm really happy with how that went. And with that, we are going to be moving on to the boss level of World 2, Bowser's Lava Lair. So Bowser's Lava Lair is a pretty interesting level because there's not really anything in terms of like major sequence breaks, but there's a lot of really tiny skips that add up over the course of the stage. This stage has got a lot of really cool tricks, and I think you'll be impressed by this level. And it's also going to have SM64 Bowser Koopa's Road music, so that's a bit of a nice throwback there. So at the very start here, you're supposed to kill this Magic Koopa in order to get a full star to appear, but that takes like 5 seconds too long or something, so instead of doing that, we're just going to long jump straight past it and enter the gravity field of the planet instead, like that. And instead of taking the spring here, I'm just going to do a side flip. And right here, I'm going to grab the Life Mushroom to get 3 extra bars of health because I'm going to be doing some lava boosting later in the star, and I'm going to want this extra 3 health. That's fine, there's coins in the next section. It's very important from this point on that I don't go below 4 health, otherwise I won't be able to get back to the health that I need necessary. And there's a skip at the very end that requires me to have at least 4 health. So here's a bit of a lava boost strat I'm going to do to skip having to fight a Hammer Bro. You can just wall jump there and fall all the way down here. Here I'm going to turn the camera to get some womps off. Oh no, that's not good. Alright, so unfortunately I'm going to have to resort to a backup strat here. That's a little bit slower. Alright, I'm going to play it safe here. I would have done a faster strat for getting that common medal had I not lost that extra bit of health. So I'm going to be I need to skip a bunch of Snake Block auto-scrollers. I can do it without the extra bar health, but it's a lot more difficult and it's a little bit slower. So hopefully I can pull this off. So this is just a little backup strat. And now I need to long jump across these statues, which can be pretty risky without a good setup. Alright, we made it. So if I had not lost the extra bit of health, I would have just gone straight to the right and long jumped on the statues to the right and not gone on the Snake Block at all. But that strat is barely slower, so it's fine. And it still skips an entire couple Snake Block auto-scrollers, so it still saves quite a bit of time. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the first Bowser fight of the run. So Bowser fights in this game are significantly less interesting than they are in most other Mario games. Basically, Bowser yells, summons a bunch of meteors somehow, and then tries to punch you and gets his fist stuck in the ground. And then while he's trying to pull it out, you can ground pound the meteors into him, and you have to do this a total of 4 times. And this fight is pretty basic. A couple of the other fights will have some interesting tech later on that allows me to save some time, but for the most part, this fight is relatively straightforward. So I'm going to do some optimization here. I want to have Bowser punch as close to the meteor as possible. And then I'm going to ground pound the meteor at an angle that makes it travel the least amount of distance between itself and the Bowser's hand. And I want to try to do this for every hit. And I could have gone for that other meteor, but it's fine. So now on this second hit, Bowser is going to, on the second phase, Bowser's going to breathe fire before punching. And I actually want to pay attention to where the fire attack ends, because that's where he's going to start aiming his next punch. And I can use that to manipulate Bowser into punching right away. Like that. I have to be pretty careful to not miss any hits on these fights because every missed hit is around 20 seconds. Because Bowser has to go through an entire cycle of attacks again. So missing hits on these Bowser fights is very costly. This fight isn't too difficult, but some of the fights later on can be very challenging. Uh-oh. Okay. Bowser can punch out the meteors, and it's incredibly rare for him to do this with 3 meteors, but sometimes you can punch out all of the meteors you have, and that just completely prevents you from hitting him, so you have to wait another cycle. It's incredibly rare that he does it with 3 meteors again, but it has happened before. So that's going to be it for this level. And this is the World 2 Grand Star, which is going to enable us to finish World 2 and move on to World 3. So a pretty decent World 2, aside from, I think the only real major mistake I had was having to do the backup strat for the ending of Lava Layer there, but all in all, that was pretty solid. But now we're going to be heading into the mid-game. This is where I would definitely say the run starts to really ramp up in difficulty. We've had a lot of really difficult stuff in this run so far, but the stakes get a lot higher from World 3 onwards, because there's a lot more difficult strats, and the time losses for failing some of these strats are usually pretty massive, and deaths are usually really costly. So we just have to sit through these cutscenes again. World 3 also got rerouted semi-recently, but instead of actually replacing stars, we're just doing them in a different order to save a world map movement, and then also to manipulate the comet spawn patterns so that I can skip another comet spawn cutscene after World 3. So we've got a couple options as to where to go first, and I'm actually going to opt to go to Cloudy Court first. We're going to see a bit more cloud boosting action here. So if you enjoyed that from a Floppy Bluff, you're in for a treat. So what you're going to be seeing me utilize a couple times in this star is something I like to call 4 cloud strats, where I'm going to cloud boost into a cloud flower, and that will actually replenish my cloud stock and allow me to use the remaining 3 clouds to cross an entire gap. So I'm essentially using 4 clouds for the entire duration of the strat, hence 4 cloud strats. For the most part, this star doesn't have too much going for it that I need to explain right away, so I'll just kind of explain stuff as I get to it. So here's the first instance of 4 cloud strats. And I need to ledge grab this drum to get up here without using a cloud, and then I can use these 3 clouds to skip having to take this launch star. Good so far. So now at the end of this 2D section, we're going to have some crushers that have a comet medal in the middle of them, and it's actually possible to make it through the crushers, grab the comet medal, and get out before the crushers close. Here's another 4 cloud strat, by the way. And I'm going to use this to kind of scale over this wall here. This strat is pretty tight, but my strat for it is pretty consistent, so let's see if I can get through it. So that saves quite a bit of time. Pretty good Cloudy Court overall. So now up next we're going to be heading to Freezing Flake Galaxy, and this is the star where I'm going to get to have fun with you guys in the chat. So Freezing Flake Secret, the star I'm going to do first, has a skating minigame in it with that chimp guy you saw back in Fluffy Bluff. And he's going to challenge us to beat his high score of 500 points. And we have to do this in a time limit, obviously, because we need to have time limits. And the minigame duration timer is fixed. There's no way to end the timer early. So you basically just have to let it run all the way through. And it doesn't lose time to go for as high of a score as possible. So if you want to guess what score I'm going to get and win the satisfaction of winning, and nothing else, you can guess anywhere between 500 and 900 points, and you can only guess in multiples of 10. So like 520, 610, 730. And whoever is my rule is whoever is the closest wins. And if you get it exactly right, then bonus points. Off of that fireball, you can break the Skoomba statue, but it's a little precise. So we just gotta blow up this tree to get to the secret pipe containing the secret. And get your guesses in now. And just because it's a marathon and I'm going to show this off, I'm going to do this while skating backwards. So if you press Z while you're skating, you can skate backwards. It doesn't really change your physics at all, but it just looks cool. So the patterns you can get here are fixed, but they can be rotated in one of 3 or 4 different ways, and that's RNG. But once you know what rotation you get, the pattern is consistent. So I just kind of have to go through here. And as long as I beat the high score, it doesn't matter, but I'm going to try to go for as high of a score as possible. Alright, whoever gets closest to 810 wins. And if you miss your opportunity for this star, it's okay, because there's another star later on in the run that is basically the exact same thing, so you'll get another shot. So that's it for that level. And again, that star is pretty straightforward otherwise. As long as you don't mess up the minigame, you're fine. So next up, we're going to do Freezy Flake 1. And this star isn't super interesting, aside from the fact that there's a very tight cycle I'm going to need to make in this star. And it's not really much of a cycle as it is. I'm going to be on a very strict time limit for most of this star. So let's see if I can get this early fireball hit. There we go. So I'm going to try to make it to the common medal in the next section of this level using this fire flower. I have about a second or two of leeway, and I have to make this fire flower last for the entire duration of this trip here. Fortunately, the movement isn't too complicated, so making the cycle usually isn't too hard. Alright, as you can see, the fire flower ran out right after I made it there, so yeah, you don't have a whole lot of time there. Oh. Alright, and instead of pushing a bunch of snowballs around in this section, I'm just gonna lava boost to get behind the Bowser statue. So the reason why you want to make that cycle is because if you don't get to that common medal in time, then what you have to do is grab another fire flower, blow up that wall to get the common medal, and then wait for the next one to spawn, which takes about 20 seconds. Because you just don't have enough time to get the common medal and then make it all the way to the Bowser statue and blow it up. So yeah, thankfully I got that, even though there was some sloppiness after that. So here we're going to get a visit from Luigi. And that's the most we're going to see of him for this entire run. So from this point onward, Luigi is going to start appearing at the start of various stars. And you can talk to him and switch to playing as him for that one level. Luigi does run faster and jump higher than Mario, so he is better to use. The problem is that it wastes too much time to talk to him beforehand, and he also talks to you afterwards. So for the entirety of the any percent run, I'm just going to use Mario. You are able to switch freely between them after completing the any percent portion, but this entire run is just going to be Mario only, which is nice because this run is better suited for Mario anyways. So the starting Pony Halls 1 here, I'm going to turn the camera a few times. If moving platforms and objects aren't on camera, they don't move, so I'm going to do that to manipulate the cycles of some platforms on the second section, so I can try and catch an earlier platform cycle. That saves about 1 second, and it's kind of tight, and also means I have to skip a checkpoint, which is pretty risky. Yeah, this cycle you're unable to make if you don't do that camera manipulation. And again, it saves very minimal time, but if you can get the movement down, it's not too hard. So those first 2 platforms are cycle-based, but these next 2 platforms actually start moving once you get into a certain trigger radius. And because, again, you can jump in this game, you can skip having to wait on most of them. Now we have to deal with this common metal platform here. And we get Yoshi in the next section, so you can probably guess what we're going to do. I'm sure it's obvious. We also have this bull bear here, which eliminates floors underneath you that otherwise don't exist, but you don't really need it here. That was awkward, but whatever. So something very important just happened, and that's that I got my 4th star from World 3. So from this point onwards, comets are going to start appearing. And I'll get more into those in a little bit, but basically, comets are modified versions of stars, and unlike Galaxy 1, where comets operate on cycles, in this game, when you unlock a comet, it stays there until you get it, which makes routing this game a lot easier than routing Galaxy 1. So that's going to be really convenient. But we're not going to do comets quite yet, so I'm just going to be letting them kind of build up a little bit, and then I'm going to make a couple different backtracking sessions for them. So here's Honey Halls 2. This is what I like to call Long Jump Simulator 2010, because this entire star is basically just a bunch of long jumps from beginning to end, with a few spins here and there. There really isn't that much to the star. Optimizing long jumps in this game, though, is somewhat more technical than you might think. There's a bit more to it than meets the eye. So when you're long jumping from running, you actually want to press Z and A at around the same time, because then Mario doesn't crouch before he initiates the long jump, and that means that if you're going to start running again after landing from your long jump, you won't stop in place for a little bit, and so that can be important. And also when you're chaining long jumps together, there's a small frame window where you can press A to long jump again without losing too much speed. And it doesn't save a whole lot of time, but it can definitely add up if you aren't paying attention versus you are paying attention. So this section right here is really tricky. This long jump is really risky to go for. If you miss that gap, then you just fall to your death. It's not a very long death, but it's... Oh, that was kind of dumb. That's unfortunate, but that's not a huge death. Although my cycles are going to be slightly off here now, because I died there. Again, cycles only move when they're on camera, so since these were on camera earlier, now that I died, the cycles have been kind of reset. So I have no idea what cycle these guys are going to be on now, so I'm just going to kind of improvise here. Alright, we're good. That was a kind of unfortunate death. Again, this star, it seems trivial, but if you make one mistake in your movement, it can be super easy to die. So that was just kind of unfortunate circumstances, but it's not a huge deal, again. It happens, and I've died on that star more times than I care to admit, so it's not a huge deal to me anymore. It is kind of an embarrassing star to die on, though, because it's not that hard. So next up, I'm going to go to the next Hungry Luma Galaxy. This Hungry Luma is kind of weird compared to all the other Hungry Lumas, because for some reason, the last star bit always shoots out later than the others. Which is actually useful, because since you can move during these Hungry Luma feeding cutscenes, I can set up a backflip to get to the hub a little bit faster, and this makes it easier to time. So that's last star bit again, shoots a little bit later than usual. Unfortunately, my backflip was timed kind of late there, so I'm not going to get the maximum time save out of that. So this is Beat Block Galaxy. So this galaxy has an interesting gimmick where there's yellow and green blocks, and every 8 beats of the song, it will switch between the yellow blocks being active and the green blocks being active, which makes this star very cycle-based. It's also kind of just a bunch of long jumps, but I have to make sure I don't have any mistakes in my movement if I want to make the fast platform cycle. And it's also really easy to die here if you get thrown off track, so I'm going to kind of try and focus for a little bit of the star. I am going to try to play it intentionally slow in this first section so I don't get caught on the green blocks up ahead. Uh-oh. That's not good. So now my cycles are going to be completely off. shouldn't be too big of a deal. As long as I'm not a complete idiot. Okay. That was kind of scary, but managed to make it work. Again, if you fall off your optimal cycle on that star, you just have to improvise. It does lose quite a bit of time, and it does lose a few seconds if you have to make a later platform cycle, though, so that's kind of unfortunate that that had to happen. And it does look pretty sweet if you get the fast cycle, but it's not, again, it's not a huge deal, as long as you don't die. So we got a pretty cool star coming up next, Tall Trunk 1. This star has a lot of really interesting strats you can go for here, and it's very satisfying to pull this star off properly, but this is also a very difficult star to pull off everything in. And most mistakes here are somewhat costly. So on this first planet of this star, you're actually supposed to use Yoshi and the Blint Fruit to climb up this tree, but that's very slow, and Mario is a very skilled acrobat. So what I'm going to do instead is just use Mario's various jumps and whatnot to scale the entire tree. And this just saves a few seconds. This is pretty precise though. Especially this long jump right here. There we go. Alright, that went well. So we're skipping Yoshi entirely for that first planet, but we'll get to use him a lot on this second planet here. So coming up here is a pretty awkward Comet Medal snag right here, because this is a straight backwards infinite flutter. Alright, if you mess that up and miss the Comet Medal, you have to infinite flutter forward, and that completely kills your ability to go backwards. So you have to grab the Blint Fruit, and that's really slow. But fortunately, I was able to get that. So in one fall, you just grab all the starships like that. And I dismount Yoshi here, because that allows me to get to the launch star a little bit quicker, and I can also ground pound at the start of this planet, and Yoshi will just be in his egg ready for me. Alright, what I did there is actually a frame perfect ground pound, where if you spin and ground pound and press Z on the same frame, you can do a regular ground pound out of a long jump instead of a homing ground pound. Once again, it is frame perfect, and it involves manipulating your motion controls, so it's kind of rare that I get it, but I will be going for it a few times, and it doesn't lose too much time to miss it usually. And right here, you really have no choice but to use the Blint Fruit to go straight up. So I'm just kind of doing this, and you might think Yoshi's going to get his time to shine in the cutscene, but no. Again, that was a very good Tall Trunk 1. Again, it's very hard to get everything in that star to go right. So I'm very, very happy with how that went. And now we're going to begin our first comet session here. So the first comet I'm going to do is a Clodycore comet. So a few things to note about comets in this game is that in order to unlock a comet, you need the comet medal from that galaxy and a certain number of comet medals total. So for example, Clodycore's comet, I got the comet medal from here, and it only requires one comet medal. And if I ever collect a comet medal that's in a galaxy that doesn't have a comet, or a comet that I'm not getting, that's because I want to add to the comet medal total. So this first star, those cosmic cones from Sky Station 2 are going to make a comeback. They are very bad in this star, because if you make a mistake, they also make that same mistake. This first section, they're not too bad, especially because there's a cool thing you can go for here, where if you just barely touch the edge of each of these starships, you can actually prevent them from spawning entirely. Alright, I didn't get it. You can get it all the way for all 5 starships, but it's not really a time deal if you get it or not. And now we're in the 2D section, which is where they're at their worst. You do not want to mess up in these wall jumping sections, or else they get in your way and it's impossible to get up. Although it does look pretty funny, because if you fall down, you get to see them fall down. It's just also kind of sad at the same time. But we're good now. We shouldn't have any of those issues. And we can break this crystal before the cosmic clones even fully spawn. That was a pretty good level. So now I don't quite have enough stars to go to the boss level of World 3, so I'm going to go back to Worlds 1 and 2 and get some of those comet stars that I couldn't get earlier. Because you need 29 stars in order to get to the boss level of World 3, which I know is kind of an arbitrary number. I don't know why. But yeah. So to start, we're going to use our trusty Grand World map to go back to World 2. So this star, funnily enough, Platyport's Comet actually unlocks every Cosmic Cone Comet in the game, including this star. And this unlocks every Purple Coin Comet in the game, which is why I'm getting it now. Because I'm going to want to collect a couple Purple Coin Comets in my first trip to World 4. This star is deceptively difficult. It looks simple, but getting all of these groups of 4 purple coins without slowing down is very challenging, especially when you have Cosmic Coins chasing you the entire time. This is a very tough star. And I'm going to be doing a few little bunny hops here because that speeds Mario up a little bit each time you do it. I had to turn around for 1 purple coin, but other than that, that was really good. That star is, again, I made that look easy. And it looks so mundane, too, but it's anything but. So thankfully that went well. And that's the only star I'm going to be getting from World 2 for now. I'm not done with getting stars from World 2, but for routing convenience, I'm just getting that now. Now we're going to head to World 1 and get 2 Comets and a Hungry Luma star, and that'll get us to 29 stars. So again, I'm going to use the Grand World map. And first off, we're going to go to Sky Station to get this Comet star. And worth noting is that Nintendo spells speedrun with a space, which I know is wrong, but we're not going to talk about it. This is actually a pretty... most speedy comets in this game are actually kind of an upgrade from Galaxy 1. They actually kind of did stuff to modify the level. And for stars like this, not only are you skipping a ton of planets in this star, which is why I'm doing this to begin with, but also you only have 20 seconds to beat the level, which is definitely not enough time. So the challenge comes from having to collect a bunch of clocks to add 10 seconds to your time. So I have to minimize the amount of clocks I have to get while... I have to minimize the amount of time I spend going on my way to get those clocks while also making sure I have enough time to finish the level. So as you can see, I'm already at Pee-wee Piranha. So again, this star is a lot faster than Sky Station 1. And for Pee-wee, again, I'm just going to use the same ground pound the shell once strat that I used in Sky Station 1. And hopefully I can get the early hits. So it's actually possible to soft block the Pee-wee fight by shooting star bits at him right as it transitions to a cutscene. And the cutscene just never starts, and you can't interact with Pee-wee in any way. If that happens on this star, you can just exit the level, but in Sky Station 1, you actually have to restart the run. So, fortunately, though, this game autosaves, so if I do happen to soft block or game crash or whatnot, which shouldn't happen, then it's not a huge deal. I don't really lose any progress. So next up, we are going to be going to Yoshi Star to get that Galaxy's Comet. And this is the first of 4 Romp Comets in the run. So Romp Comets are new to Galaxy 2. Basically, you have to kill a bunch of enemies in a specified time limit, and usually there's some kind of gimmick. In this case, it's using the Rainbow Star, which basically is an invincibility power-up. The problem with the Rainbow Star, though, is that if you stay running on the ground for long enough, you kind of start to build up this P-speed. And you want to maintain this speed for as long as possible, which means you can't run into any walls and you really just can't slow down. And that's very challenging in this star. Another terrible thing about this star is that that off-camera thing where objects that move won't move if they're not on camera, that applies to these Spinies. So what can sometimes happen is you can kill a Spiny, but then it goes off camera before it fully dies, and the counter doesn't update. So a lot of players have had this problem where they get to the end and it shows 29 out of 30 Spinies, and that's because the Spiny died off camera, so you have to rotate the camera a bunch of times until you get that Spiny off screen and it on screen and it dies. But I'm not going to have that problem here because all the Spinies have died on screen. That was really good. Again, it's really hard to get to that start without losing your momentum. So that was a pretty solid level. Now we're going on to a really terrible level in the Flip Swap Galaxy, which is another Hungry Luma Galaxy. And this will be the last star I collect before finishing off World 3. So Flip Swap Galaxy has a gimmick similar to that of Beat Block, where, again, it's really hard to get to that star without losing your momentum. So that was a pretty solid level. Now we're going on to a really terrible level in the Flip Swap Galaxy, which is another Hungry Luma Galaxy. And this will be the last star I collect before finishing off World 3. So Flip Swap Galaxy has a gimmick similar to that of Beat Block, where you have these red and blue platforms that will switch every time you spin. So the object of the stage is obviously to keep track of when you're spinning so you don't screw yourself over. But the thing is, as the platforms switch, they kind of do this little rise up effect. And if you long jump or jump on the platforms as they're rising up, you can get a ton of momentum. And they're usually pretty difficult to go for because if you miss them, you die. But they do look really cool, and they can save a little bit of time if you get all time down in the level. So I'm going to be going for a total of 5 of them. These first 2 are definitely the harder ones. So if there's anywhere I'm going to die, it's probably going to be to one of the first 2 ones. But afterwards, the level becomes a little bit easier. So hopefully I pull off this level really well, and you get to see just how impressive this looks. So this is the upwards momentum thing being taken to the extreme. There we go. Whee! So that's probably the hardest one. This one's also pretty tricky. But I got it. Nice. The last few aren't that difficult. Okay, I'm just gonna wait for this. I don't want to risk dying. And you can cancel a spin with a long jump or a single jump, which is what I did there. And I'm also going to use that here. So you get a kind of mini super jump. Like that. Alright, that third super jump is actually the easiest one for me, so I'm kind of upset that I missed that, but not a huge deal. I didn't die, and that's all I'm really going to ask for in a marathon. And I'm doing this star as my last star because Flip Swap's Comet is going to spawn after I get the Grand Star from World 3. But because of the Grand Star cutscene, it's just going to skip that entirely, so that's going to save about 5 seconds. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing the stars in the order I am. But now it's time for Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet. So if you thought the Infinite Flutters I've done in this run so far were crazy, hold on to something because you're not ready for this. So Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet is full of a bunch of auto-scrolling platforms and junk. But the cool thing is the level is all one height and you get Yoshi right at the start. So you can break the entire level using Infinite Flutters. And I'm going to be going for the hardest set of flutters, which is regarded as one of the hardest sets of flutters you can do in Galaxy 2. This is commonly referred to as the question block flutter, and you'll see why. Basically, I'm going to get on Yoshi, Infinite Flutter to an asteroid that for some reason has collision, then Infinite Flutter to an item block over where the airships are normally, and then I have to get a very specific angle and Infinite Flutter through a common metal and underneath a structure, and then dismount off of Yoshi at just the right time. I get no checkpoints during this, and if I die, I lose about a minute, so let's not do that. This is very difficult, by the way. And this saves very little time over the alternate strat of doing this level. So now that first flutter isn't too bad. This second flutter, if you get a bad angle, sometimes you'll either overshoot the question block and have to die, or undershoot it and you have to spend a little bit of time fluttering slower, but that was pretty good. Right now, this is the top flutter. Alright, I got it first try. Nice. That flutter is way harder than I just made it look. And I did spend a little bit of time setting up the angle, but there's only like 3 angles that'll actually work for that flutter, and it's a very small range of angles. You have to go super low to get underneath that structure, and then rise up quickly enough, and the death plane is right underneath you. So there's just so many hard tricks to that flutter, but very happy I got that first try. And now I have to fight Mega Hammer, which is another terrible pointer-based boss. So at the start here, I'm going to get on Yoshi, and then I'm going to back up here because I'm going to try to get an early hit. And I got it. Nice. So now I actually don't want to get an early hit here because I want to cancel one of Mega Hammer's animations. So when he's shaking his hammers there, he's getting ready to smash them together, so that's why I waited there. And here I'm going to lure 3 bullet bills over to me, and I'm going to use 2 of them to take out this back weak spot, and I'm going to get the 3rd one in Yoshi's mouth, and I'm going to hope that it stores through the cutscene. It's random whether it does or not, as far as I know, but usually it does. Alright, it did. And now I can just side flip. Mega Hammer is supposed to lower its head so you can fire these bullet bills at the cockpit, but a side flip and a full flutter is enough height to make it. There we go. I missed that first shot, but thankfully I was able to get a quick backup. So yeah, that was, I'm just happy I made no major mistakes in that stage. That's really all I can ask for in a marathon. And, sorry Yoshi, you're not going to get to be in the only Grand Star cutscene you can be in. So yeah, a couple unfortunate things happened in World 3 there, but nothing too major. But the fun never stops with difficult tricks in this game, because now we're going to be heading on to World 4, because, you know, that's how numbers work. And World 4, I would say, is definitely one of the hardest worlds in any percent. There's a lot of really difficult stars, and mistakes here are super punishing. So yeah, we just gotta sit through this cutscene again. Unfortunately, at the start of World 4, we get an option as to where to go first. The game wants you to go to Supermassive, but that's recently been routed out of any percent entirely. So instead, we're going to take the bottom path and go to Sweet Mystery, which is very convenient because Sweet Mystery is just objectively better. Although Supermassive has some fun movement in it and got some cool tricks, it's kind of an annoying level. So, and Naughty Balloon 1 is way flashier. So if you remember how the last level was a bunch of infinite fluttering, this level is more or less the same. I'm basically just going to destroy this level with the use of infinite flutters. Except this level is a lot less complicated. You're also going to get to see the Bolt Berry again. So this level mostly speaks for itself in terms of what the infinite flutters accomplish. It's basically just going to be traveling large distances in a short amount of time instead of just walking the entire way there. This first flutter is a little tricky because I'm going to be going for it with a blind angle because I'm not going to bother changing the camera. And you need to have a pretty specific angle in order to do the flutter optimally, so let's see how this goes. Alright, this angle is going to be a little bit far back, but that's not a huge deal. I just have to stop right there instead of going all the way over to the common middle like I could. So here, instead of activating all the flip switches to get a launch star, I'm just going to infinite flutter straight over to the star. This flutter is scary because if you fall during this flutter, you actually don't die, and instead you land on an invisible floor, and it takes like 20 additional seconds to find a ledge you can fall off of. So that can be really scary. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and overall, that was a very well executed star. I'm making infinite fluttering look so much easier than it actually is, by the way. It takes a long time to get the rhythm down, and it takes even longer to learn all the angles you need to hold. So we're going to be kind of going back and forth between Sweet Mystery and Flipsville for the first part of World 1 here. So Flipsville is a pretty fan-favorite galaxy. It's got a lot of cool speedrun strats in it. Especially Flipsville 1, this is a pretty fan-favorite star for the amount of skips we can do here. You can skip entire planets in the star, and there's 2 really neat gravity exploits I'm going to use here to basically skip the entire level. So to start here, I'm going to go to the bottom half of this planet, and then I'm just going to wall jump onto this wall and make my way over to the comet level. Like this. And now, goodbye. And because physics, I would just enter the gravity field of this planet. And that actually unloads a kill plane, so I can get on top of this roof here, and then backflip, slide off this roof to get a tiny bit of backwards momentum. And if I time a spin correctly while falling, I can enter the gravity field of the boss planet and just skip the entire level like that. Again, very visually impressive looking skip. And it saves a tremendous amount of time. This is a very long level casually. So now I have to fight Glamdozer, which is a pretty simple boss as long as you don't let things get too out of hand. So Glamdozer's chin is vulnerable, so once the iframes run out, I can just wait underneath the chin and just ground pound right away. And that makes this fight really trivial. So yeah, again, very cool star here. This is definitely one of my favorite stars to watch for speedruns. And it feels really satisfying to pull everything off. Alright, so one thing I haven't mentioned about comets yet is that in order for a comet to unlock, you need to collect all the main stars of that galaxy, but not only that, you need to collect at least one other star from another galaxy before the comet can spawn, and I'm going to call these buffer stars. So right now, Flipsville 1 and Flipsville 2 are going to serve as the buffer stars for Sweet Mystery's Comet, which just spawned. And Sweet Mystery's Comet is going to serve as the buffer star for Flipsville's Comet. Also, this is the first of 3 letters we're going to get from a mysterious anonymous person. You can probably guess who it is. And they're going to give us 50 star bits. This is going to account for the other 150 star bits that I need for the last bank code. So now we're going to head back into Flipsville, and we're going to do Flipsville 2 next. The star isn't nearly as flashy as Flipsville 1, but it's got a few really cool strats in it. Namely, on the first 2 planets here, you're supposed to use the spin drill on both planets, but Nintendo literally did not care at all when designing these 2 planets, so you can skip the spin drill on both planets. So for example, on this star, instead of taking the spin drill like you're supposed to, I'm just going to jump around this wall. I'm going to use this enemy bouncing for one of the safety. I'm going to play it a little bit safe here. Alright, that's not what I was going to do, but I played it safe. I didn't long jump like I was supposed to. And then here you can just wall jump on the structure for no reason, and then you can get into the fight. Alright, I have a pretty tight movement I need to do here. Alright, that's the hardest part of this entire section. And if I do that, that'll allow me to maintain the optimal cycle. So this room is a kind of half auto-scroller, half cycle-based. You do have to maintain your cycle here, but there's also a lot of waiting. Well, that went pretty well. Now, drilling to the star is weird, because sometimes you just grab the star right away. And I don't understand why. Like, that happens sometimes. And I don't understand why that can happen. But it's really rare when it does, but it can save a little bit of time if you get it. So up next we're going to do a Sweet Mysteries Comet. This is another devil in disguise of a star, because we have to collect every purple coin in this level, and thankfully you don't need to infinite flutter in this star unless you fall off a ledge and you need to save yourself, which hopefully won't happen. But Yoshi walks really, really fast, and optimally you want to stay on the ground for as long as possible, but it also makes it really difficult to collect the purple coins without slowing down. You'll very likely see me miss like 1 or 2, and that's good. I'm also going to double tap A every time I jump, because that'll make Yoshi do a short flutter and not stay in the air for as long. Again, grabbing all those purple coins like that is super precise, and you have to focus really hard when you're doing this star. And you can walk across these platforms for no reason. This block here is kind of cycle-based, but it only really starts moving once you get close to it, so I usually arrive here at around the same time. Alright, I didn't miss any purple coins, so that was actually really, really good. Doing that star optimally like that is insanely hard and takes a lot of practice. Alright. But if you thought that star looked difficult, this next star is arguably way, way worse. So, next up is Flipsville's Comet, where we have to collect 100 purple coins in that room with the gravity switching and whatnot, with the spin drill, and it's very cycle-based. I'm going to be going for a route that was found by Halsey Cantaloupe. That saves about 4 seconds over the previous route we used to do, but it's really, really tight. We also have to rely a lot on the fact that when you drill with the spin drill, your hitbox is actually a lot bigger. So you can collect large quantities of purple coins by just drilling. And I'm gonna want to abuse that for a lot. I'm gonna want to abuse that a lot in this star. So this first half I'm gonna be a little bit quiet, because this is definitely the harder part of this star. So I'm gonna kind of focus here. There's a lot of really difficult strats I have to do here. Oh no. Okay, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and wait a cycle. Uh-oh, I did not do that properly. Okay, I'm just gonna... Okay. Okay, I barely made that. So I just lost a couple cycles, but I'll still be able to do the route. Although this fuzzy might be in a bad spot. I mean, never said it was in a good spot. So unfortunately I didn't get to show off the fast variant of this star, but at least I didn't lose a colossal amount of time. Again, mistakes on this star can just snowball if you let them, so thankfully it didn't. I only lost about 15 seconds for that. You can lose up to like 30 seconds max if you let things get out of control. I probably could have minimized the time loss a little bit more if I was a little bit smarter near the beginning, but all's well that ends well. Alright, and we're done with Sweet Mystery and Flipsville now, so we're now going to go over to doing more back and forth action between two completely different galaxies in Chompworks and Starshine Beach. So Chompworks 1 is a pretty long star, and it's got a bunch of auto-scroller parts to it, but there's actually a bit more to this star than meets the eye if you want to save time, especially on this first planet. So on this first planet, you're not normally able to run up this slope here, but for some reason, if you run up the very edge of it, you're not affected by the slope's physics. And so you can use that to just climb up the slope a lot quicker. I'm going to detour over here. I'm going to wait for these chomps to get out of the way because I got the jump cancel, so my cycles are leveled off. Nice. And I'm going to make it here. And I'm going to long jump into this launch star to completely prevent a landing stun on the next planet. That was a well-executed first finger right there. Okay, that was weird. So now on this planet, I actually want to do a strat here that we didn't used to think was possible, but if you just barely touch the left edge of that platform, you can lower it just enough for this chomp to make it run. We used to believe that that first chomp had to die, but since then that strat was discovered and saves quite a bit of time. Unfortunately, though, it's not possible to get to this chomp fast enough unless you use a second player. So in this game, I haven't brought this up yet, but in this game, if you use a second player, they take the form of an orange Luma, and you can, like, stun enemies, you can grab a hold of coins, you can grab star bits, you can hit levers. Unfortunately, I'm not good at holding two controllers at once, and there's no one in my house who wants to play with me, so I'm just doing this entire run 1P. And this is really the only star where it would save any significant amount of time anyways, so it's not a huge deal. It's much more of a factor in Galaxy 1. Yeah, this entire part is basically just a huge auto-scroller. You just kind of have to wait for this chomp with nothing to do to speed it up. And if your chomp breaks, then that's really bad. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Alright, see if I can get the swag jump here. Oh, I jumped too late. Other than a random mishap on the second planet there, that was pretty good. Again, there's a lot more to that star than meets the eye. It's one of my favorite stars just because of how many interesting tricks you get to do. But first we had to deal with auto-scrollers, and now we get to revisit everyone's favorite power-up from the first Galaxy game, aka the Spring Mushroom. Fortunately, again, because Nintendo is very good at making games, we can skip the Spring Mushroom for most of this star. You can actually skip it for the entire star, but it's slower to skip it on the last planet. But the one thing that's really important about this star is that there are elevators on the final planet, and these elevators are visible and therefore moving while you're on the first planet. So if I don't have really good movement on the first planet, it's going to be really hard to make a platform cycle on the final planet that takes about 5 seconds. And it's even harder if I don't get the jump cancel, so let's see how this goes. Alright, I didn't get the jump cancel, so now I have to have really good movement. Alright, that wasn't very good, so I don't think I'm going to have a shot at the cycle. It's extreme. The platforms don't move while you're on this planet, though. So there's some not able to normally go into first-person mode, but you can cancel the landing animation if you enter first-person mode on the first possible frame. Unfortunately, I didn't get it there, and this is one of those planets. Also, if you spin with the nunchuck for some reason, you can spin sooner after a wall jump. No idea why. Right, so I'm probably not going to make the cycle here, which is not a huge deal. It only saves about 5 seconds, but it does look pretty stylish if you get it. Actually, yeah, I didn't have a shot. I was just a little too slow. Again, you can skip the Spring Mushroom here, but it's slower. Not a huge deal. Again, it's only about 5 seconds if you don't make the cycle. Unfortunately, the star went pretty well otherwise, so it's not really much I can complain about. So we're done with Chompworks for the time being, and now we get to go to Starshine Beach, which is how Nintendo is choosing to pay homage to Super Mario Sunshine. Which honestly, to me, is not a very bad game. Although I wouldn't consider it my favorite 3D Mario. So Starshine Beach is an interesting galaxy because it's one of the few open world, quote-unquote, galaxies in the game. And by that I mean everything takes place on this one gigantic planet. And for the most part, especially for this first star, you can kind of do things in whatever order you want. So there's a bit of room for exploration and innovativeness for these stars here. Also, Yoshi is in this level, and unlike Mario Sunshine, he doesn't dissolve when touching water. I don't know what happened between Sunshine and Galaxy 2, but whatever. That's another frame perfect ground pound, by the way. Again, I've been going for those almost every time they do something that looks like a spin pound. So here I'm going to bounce on this crabber to stun it, and then after I get on Yoshi, I'm going to eat it. And then we're going to infinite flutter up to this ledge here. I'm going to walk right up to the glass here and fire this crabber, which will break the glass. And then we're going to infinite flutter from here straight to that tower. This infinite flutter is a little bit tricky because the camera doesn't do you a good job of giving you a good perspective. So sometimes you're not actually aligned up with the tower, but I was able to line it up pretty well there. You actually want to start further back as opposed to further forward. Because if you're too far back, then all you really have to worry about is fluttering slowly. Whereas if you're too far forward, then you might have to dismount and that would be slow out of time. Right, this ending right here can be pretty tricky. Nice! That dismount is very, very hard to get. So that's like what you saw on the end of Hytale Falls 1, where if you dismount off of Dash Yoshi while going up a steep slope, you gain a lot of momentum, and you can just use that to propel yourself into the last Silver Star like that. And this is one of the few comet medals that's kind of sort of out of the way. You dedicate a good amount of time getting it, but it will net me one of the fastest comet stars near the end of the run, so it's definitely worth going out of the way to get. We tried to route it out, and we just couldn't. That was a really good level, by the way. Again, this is another star where it's very hard to get everything to go right, so I'm glad everything went so smoothly. So next up, Starshine Beach 2 is normally a very long and roundabout level. You have to go through this gigantic list of steps in order to get Cloud Mario over to this tower, and then use the cloud to climb up the tower. But our good friends from Piranha 5, the Chucksters, are present in this star, and they can actually be used to skip having to do everything in this star. So basically I'm going to have a Chuckster throw me onto the highest cloud, and then I'm going to do another one of those precise cloud jumps like you saw in Honey Bloom 1 to jump up to the tower without the Cloud Flower. And this saves a big amount of time. And on the way there, I am going to be turning the camera to, again, manipulate the cloud cycles up ahead, so that they're a bit more favorable for me. You have to be careful when turning the camera there. Sometimes it can get stuck on collision for no reason, and it takes forever to get it off. Alright. 3, 2, 1. I'm a Chuckster! You can spin onto the highest cloud, jump off of it. Oh. Alright, we still got it, so that's fine. Now that skip's kind of tricky to get down, but once you have it down, it's really easy. The time frame for jumping off the cloud is actually somewhat generous. So as long as you just jump as soon as you land, you're fine. And you can save yourself if you happen to fall off. And that skip, again, saves a ton of time, so it's definitely worth doing. Alright, so last star we need to get before finishing off World 4 is Chompworks Comet. So this is going to be the last planet of Chompworks 1, except this time we have Cosmic Clones. So Cosmic Clones, as I said before, they make backtracking very difficult, and in this star they are not necessarily out there worse, but they're up there. This star is up there for being one of the worst Cosmic Clone stars. Because if your Chomp breaks, then it's almost impossible to save it. But this is just going to be another auto-scroller star. Yeah, so there's the Cosmic Clones, so now we just kind of have to deal with them for a little bit. So as long as my Chomp breaks here, this should be fine. And as long as I also don't die. Because that can also happen. So I'm going to try to keep the Cosmic Clones off my tail here by just playing it kind of slow. For example, right here, I'm just going to crawl. to kind of keep them all bunched up so that they don't get in my way. This is actually a star you can get a frame-perfect IL time on of 51.20 seconds. I'm definitely not going to get it because it requires breaking the chomp at a specific time. But if you grind this star out, you could potentially get a free IL world record and tie it with like a dozen other people. So I definitely didn't get it there. I'll probably get within like a second though. Yeah, 52 flat. Alright. So now it's time for the World 4 boss level, which is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. So this level is pretty interesting because there's actually two ways you get to skip a huge chunk of the level, and you're going to get to see me attempt both of them in this run. And they're both relatively difficult, and they both involve lava boosting, obviously. So this first star has a trick called Behind the Castle. The name kind of speaks for itself. There's lava rendered behind the 2D castle, and if you go behind the castle and lava boost in a specific way, you can enter the gravity field of the last 2D section of the level. But this is a lot harder than it looks. And the reason why I have to do this on this star is because I need the Comet Medal, and the Comet Medal is right next to where you perform behind the castle. So it's just worth it. Again, we tried to route out this Comet Medal, but there's just no other stars that are fast enough. So again, I'm detouring a little bit here to grab this Comet Medal, and here goes nothing. I have no faith in this. Alright, that works. So you have to be a very specific distance away from the castle, otherwise if you're too close you just get stuck and you in a weird falling state and eventually you die. And if you're too far away you just fall off the edge and die, and dying to that skip loses about like 45 seconds. So it's a huge time loss. Thankfully I got it though. Alright. So on these locks you can actually hit two of them at once if you're really precise, but no one except really Nemi goes for it. There's like no consistent setup for it. So now it's time for the Gravity Gauntlet Bowser fight. This fight is quite a bit more difficult than the one in Lava Layer. For a few reasons. First of all, Bowser's punches and meteors are going to have shockwaves coming out of them when they land. So you have to kind of dodge those. In addition to that, in this fight only, Bowser actually drops 2 meteors instead of the usual 3. So it's a lot easier for Bowser to punch out both meteors and lose time. Which makes this fight really, really annoying. So right here, Bowser's going to punch twice, and as you're about to see, it's incredibly difficult to dodge. I'm literally just holding it up, by the way, and jumping when I need to. So for this first hit, I'm going to go for a punch cancel, so I'm going to wait for the meteors to come down, and I'm going to wait for Bowser to charge up a punch attack before I'm firing this first meteor into him. Like that. And so Bowser now thinks he's already punched, and so he'll spawn the meteors right away, which just saves a few seconds. Again, Bowser can punch out the meteors. You have to be really careful when sometimes if you sense that Bowser's fist is in a bad position, it's better to just move it out of the way and waste a little bit of time doing that than to risk it. And that's especially prone to happening on this fight more than the other ones. Alright, Bowser's in kind of a bad position here, but this is fine. You also have to make sure you don't ground pound too close to the planet, because otherwise you'll just fire the meteor into the planet and break it, and that's bad. Another notable thing is that the Bowser shell can't actually deflect the meteors, and it doesn't usually happen on this fight or the Lava Layer fight, but it seems like in the Galaxy Generator fight, his shell's hitbox is actually a lot bigger. So it's much more likely that it will deflect the meteors. But again, that rarely happens on either this fight or the Lava Layer fight, so you have to be really careful when aiming. And with this Grand Star, that will mark the end of World 4. So yeah, Gravity Gauntlet 1, this is a very scary star midway through the run, because not only do you have Behind the Castle to deal with, which is a pretty finicky skip, and it's hard to get consistently, but you also have to deal with the Bowser fight, which can be really fickle as well. And there we go. So, next up should be World 5, because, again, that's how numbers are supposed to work, but due to routing convenience, I'm not going to have enough stars if I get the stars I want to in World 5 to finish. So I'm actually going to go back to Worlds 1 and 2 and get a few more cleanup stars that I didn't get earlier. So after I enter World 5, I'm going to use the Grand World map to go back to World 2. So we just got to, again, sit through this cutscene. Fortunately, this is the second to last time we have to see it. So the first star I'm actually going to do after I head back into World 2 is actually going to be Boulder Bowl 1. So, Boulder Bowl 1, we used to do this as star number 15 for an overlapping of events, like we did with the Honeybloom Secret. But we can actually do it at the start of World 5, the World 5 segment, and by doing this star after World 4, we can get another overlapping of events to occur and save a little bit more time. And again, it also just allows us the common medal numbers to line up for the end of World 4. So Boulder Bowl 1 has a pretty interesting gravity exploit we can use to skip a planet that involves killing a bunch of enemies and it takes forever and a day. You can do the skip both with and without the Rock Mushroom. The problem is, for this star, I have to do it with the Rock Mushroom, and it's a lot harder because I need the Rock Mushroom in order to get the common medal. And if you die to this skip, you have to redo everything, including getting the common medal, so it loses quite a bit of time. And whenever I have Rock Mario, I'm going to be spinning every time I jump because that speeds you up by a little bit. So this skip is a little bit precise, so I'm going to take a little bit of time to set it up. Got it. First try. Very nice. So again, that skip, it only skips one planet, but it saves well over a minute, because that planet is very, very slow. And there's a couple of good visual keys to know if you went to time to spend. So as long as you kind of have a good rhythm for it down and you're in a good spot, then you should be able to get it almost every time. And now it's time for Rollodilla, which is one of the more finicky bosses in this game. So for the second, third, and fourth hits, if you end up in Rollodilla's line of sight, it'll initiate this rolling attack that wastes quite a bit of time. I can actually avoid that if I stay out of its direct line of sight and roll at it from behind like this. The only problem is you're trying to chase him while he's trying to chase you, so that can make this extremely awkward. In addition to that, I'm also going to be going for these I also kind of go for jump spins to extend the length of Mario's roll so that I can get this in one roll. Unfortunately, there my lineup was a little bit off, so I wasn't able to do it. Alright. Pretty decent Rollodilla fight. As long as you don't end up in his direct line of sight, you don't lose that much time, so that's really all I ask for. And getting to skip first try is also a plus. So here comes the overlapping of events. So because I just got Boulder Bowl 1, I'm going to be brought down to the engine room to receive Rock Mario. But because now that I've collected both this star and Chompworks 1, I'm going to get a letter for the Boulder Bowl letter star. And similar to Honeybloom's Secret, overlapping with 15 stars, I can warp straight out of the engine room to the Mail Toad and save a lot of travel time. So huge props again to JDA7, Elias, and House of Cantaloupe for kind of helping theorize this route, and Pods for testing it, because this is a very solid route. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds in total. But now we're actually going to get to something that's never before been seen in a marathon, and that's another slight route change. I'm actually going to do the Boulder Bowl letter star now to minimize stars that show up on the star select menu, which is an optimization that was recently implemented by NEMI43. This is like a little over a week old. So this is the letter star that I just unlocked, and I'm going to be able to do Vulnerable 1 skip without the Rock Mushroom because I don't need the Comet Medal this time. It's a lot easier, except for this jump. This jump can be a little bit precise. But once you get here, it's free. You just run up the left, ramp, long jump to the left, and spin. You don't even have to set it up. So again, I'm not really doing any like new stars in the route. I'm just doing stuff in a slightly different order. So now I have to lure this Goomba over to the gear mode. You only get 2 of these Goombas, and if they both die, then you have to redo this entire level. So you have to be careful here. Fortunately, there's a pretty consistent way of getting that Goomba to do what you want every time. Also, the game can just soft lock on that cutscene for literally no reason. So that's fun. It rarely happens to though. Like, I've played this star like hundreds of times probably, and it's only happened to me once. But, you know, if there's ever a time. As long as you don't mess up that star, you're fine. There's really not much you have to worry about. Now we're going to be getting a couple of Comet stars that, again, for routing convenience, it's better to just do them later in the run. So first we got to make our way back to Button, because Purple Idiot. He's not going to be doing that as often anymore since we're so late into the game. So this is Hightail Falls Comet. This is basically Hightail Falls 1, but with a timer, except now there's holes in the ground and meteors falling, which for the most part aren't an issue. Also, because I already have the Comet Medal, and this is the Comet, the ending of the star is going to be slightly different, because I'm going to do a different strat at the end than what you saw before. That's a few seconds faster. But for the most part, the first part of the star will be mostly the same as Hightail Falls 1. So if you missed that earlier, basically I'm just going to be trying to maintain the dash pepper effect with Yoshi for as long as possible. Also, these pink guys are called Smeeches. Do not touch them or else they will latch onto your tongue and you have to shake to get them off. Otherwise you won't be able to see anything. So again, on this planet I'm going to go off the left path because there's an extra dash pepper. And again, I have to make sure I don't hit the wall or else I fall all the way down and lose a tremendous amount of time. That was kind of weird. So again, I'm also going to grab this dash pepper late so I can again prolong its effect. I'm just trying to take this straight as a line as possible. So unlike Hightail Falls, I'm actually going to take the launch star this time. I'm going to go for this cool little jump. This is a super precise jump. But if I get it, it'll allow me to save a few extra seconds. And I got it first try. Nice. That jump is way more precise than I just made it well. Alright. Ending was a little bit sloppy, but I managed to do it pretty well. So that is faster if you're not doing the Comet Medal, but you have to jump super late so that your tilt, so that Yoshi's tilt is leaning super far back so he gets a super high jump. But now we have one of the worst stars in the run coming up. So I'm going to need your Bless RNGs for this star, because this star is terrible. So this star involves, this is the second star of the run, I believe, and this involves killing 30 of those crabber enemies on the planet where Rodilla was with Rock Mario. And their movement is completely random. So, and this is with a time limit. So if I run out of time, I die and I have to redo the entire level. I lose over a minute if that happens, so let's not have that happen. There's also tech where this isn't explained in-game, but you can actually jump out of Rock Mario early by jumping and then pressing Z, which I'm going to use a lot in this star. So what my general strategy is going to be for here is I want to hope that they kind of group up until I reach about 24 or 25 of them, and then I'm going to start focusing on kind of the individual ones. And the blue crabbers are the ones I kind of have to look out for because their movement is definitely the most erratic. Alright, this is not up to that great of a start. So again, I'm jumping out of Rock Mario early. If you do not know about that, this start is almost impossible. Alright. So, I haven't... This isn't quite the kind of pace I want to be on, but I should still be fine to clear the star. really want to get this. Okay, I'm kind of in trouble now. As I still have 2 Travis left, so that's better than okay. That was pretty ugly, but I managed to make it, and that's all that matters. Optimally, you want to finish this star with about 20 seconds remaining on the timer. I had to finish this star with 1 second left on the timer, which is a very big Monka S. So yeah, that star is very, very scary 2 hours into the run. But fortunately, I made it through without dying. That's all I can ask for. It was sloppy, though. So here's the second of the 350 star bit nail tilt letters we're going to get. So now, before we go up to World 5, there's one more star we have to do, and for this star we get to visit our good friend Gobblegut again. So this is the Gobblegut fight from earlier, but with a time limit, and again, Nintendo gives you way too much time to do these missions. I'm going to be going for exactly what I went for on Fiery Flotilla 1, so hopefully this will go exactly like it went the first time, but if it doesn't, you'll get to see how bad this fight can get. So again, if you missed the first fight, I'm basically trying to attack Gobblegut while he's in the air, and I have to do this in a very specific way in order to not lose 100 years. So hopefully this will, again, just go just as smoothly as the first fight. Alright, good first phase. The first phase is usually the easier of the 2 phases for me, so I can still mess this up. Alright, that was a bit of a sketchy ending, but 2 for 2 perfect Gobblegut. That's very nice. Again, that fight is super hard to get consistent. And I'm making it look free when it's not. It takes a very long time to get that fight down. But now we are completely done with Worlds 1 and 2 for the rest of the run. Because there's no more stars I'm going to want to get from either of those first 2 worlds. And now we can finally move on to World 5, because it's been like, what, 11 minutes or something? No, it's been way more than that. So now we can finally move on to World 5. We're not going to be getting too many stars from World 5. We only need 55 in order to get to the boss level. Right now we have 46. But the stars we are getting from here are pretty interesting. So this is a Space Storm 1. This is a pretty cool level. The cylinder planet that you're seeing on screen right now has a lot of moving platforms, and there's a really tight cycle I can make that requires a very finicky long jump. But if I can get the cycle, it saves about 5 seconds. Also, you have full stars to deal with. We'll be seeing more of those later in the level. So here comes the finicky long jump. You have to hold neutral at a certain point during this long jump in order to not mess this up. And you also have to long jump at the right time. And I made it nice. So that saves, again, that saves about 5 seconds in platform cycles. Right here for a little bit. And perfect space. That's a perfect second planet there. Now here we just gotta whir this bottom over to break some glass. The only real thing that can go wrong here is losing the bottom somehow. And instead of walking all the way around to get to the launch star, I'm just going to long jump straight there, because I'm fast. And now here we have to deal with a ton of pole stars. So pole stars in the Galaxy games are pretty tricky to optimize. You have to kind of release yourself before you hit the center to maintain momentum. And there's a lot of obstacles here, which means it's really easy for me to get hit, and that can lose a little bit of time. But luckily, if you get hit, here you get suspended in midair for a little bit. Like that, so you can grab onto another pole star pretty easily. And that was a really good level overall. Again, there's a lot to that level that makes it really difficult. And now that we've collected this star, a majority of World 5 is going to be open. But we're going to stay here for one more star, and that's going to be Space Storm 2. which actually pays homage to a buoy-based Galaxy from the first Galaxy game, including the buoy-based music. So if you like that music, sorry, you're not going to get to hear too much of it. Because this is a very, very fast level if done right, but it's also a very hard level to do optimally. So this star, you're intended to hit a bunch of switches to slow down time, because as you're about to see, a ton of the moving elements in this level are moving really fast. But I'm going to try to make it through this entire star without hitting any of them. And this is a very tough level to do. Alright, so instead of going to the right and dealing with all that crap, I'm just going to jump onto this wall onto the left here. And just completely skip all of that. And instead of fighting the top man here, I can just do a triple jump to get straight to the star, and that was a perfect level. Again, that's much easier said than done. But that level does look extremely stylish if you pull it off. Yeah, 28 seconds. That's the second fastest star in the run after a Honeyboon Secret. And now we can move on into the bulk of World 5. So first off, we're going to go to Shiverburn, and we're going to do the secret star first, which is, if you remember the skating minigame from a while back, this is essentially the exact same thing. So we're going to do another guessing game here. So again, guess anywhere between 600 and 900 as to how many points I'm going to get on this minigame, and only guess in multiples of 10. And whoever's closest, either in either direction, whoever's closest wins. So you can either be 10 points above or 10 points below, and if that's closest, you win. So here I'm going to use Cloud Mario to skip having to travel all around the scene here. Like that. And get straight to this pipe. So the patterns you can get here are the exact same as the patterns in Freezy Play, and they can be rotated in the same ways. And once again, I'm going to be doing this while skating backwards because I'm cool. So again, to skate backwards, you just start skating and you press Z, and you just do this. It doesn't really alter your controls, though. For some reason, it makes turning a little bit newer. And I think you move a little bit slower, but I'm not entirely sure. So as long as I beat the high score, it doesn't matter what score I get, but I can go farther without losing any time. Yeah, like, I got the high score already, but I still have time, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep it going for as long as I can. Alright, so whoever gets closest to 790 wins. That's it for that level. So up next, we have Shiverburn 1, and this is actually another pretty interesting level. It's kind of long-winded, but there's a lot of really interesting strats we go for in this star, and I think you'll find this level entertaining to watch. So to start here, I'm going to do a gravity exploit involving Cloud Mario. So I'm going to use clouds to go straight from the beginning of the first planet to the end of the second planet, because the two planets are like right next to each other. I'm going to go for the slightly more aggressive variant of the strat. I need to have very specific timing with my cloud making and long jumps in order to not mess this up. I get the right amount of momentum. And if I do it right, I'll just get pulled into the gravity field of this planet. Nice, I got it. So now I have to detour a little bit in front of the launch star to get the Comet Medal. Like that. And I also hit the lava there to lose Cloud Mario so I could lose the floaty effect, because I don't really want it for this next section. So in this section I'm going to turn the camera again to manipulate the timing of the icicles up ahead. And And instead of firing coconuts back at these guys like I'm supposed to, I'm just going to long jump past them. And skip having to do that. Alright, that was a really good level. I didn't make any major mistakes. It's really easy to have one tiny input go wrong and then you make a huge mistake. And you lose a lot of time. So this is Prince Picante. I'm actually going to be going for the slightly slower but much more consistent variant of this boss. That involves no RNG. So I'm going to intentionally miss that first coconut, and I'm going to hit the second one back late. And this will set him up to where he'll never be on that side of the battlefield during the second or third hits. Because otherwise he does this upwards firing attack, which you can use for a strat that's even faster than this, but it makes the fight really random, and it's very RNG dependent if you get it or not. So I just opt to do this strat because it's only a few seconds slower, and it's way more consistent. Like, as long as you do the same thing every time, the same exact thing will happen every time, so it's not a huge deal. And that was a really good Sugar Burn 1. So we got the final 50 star bit letter, and this will get me to the 1800 star bits that I'm going to need for the final Hungry Luma of the game. Or the final Hungry Luma of the run that I need to get. And notice how the star bits are to the Luma and not to Mario. So we're basically just stealing them from the Luma. Okay. So the next galaxy we're going to go to is Upside Dizzy. This is kind of the sequel level to Right Side Down. Except it's even more confusing and you're in even less control of when the gravity switches. This first star is very, very cycle-based, especially in the second part of it. There's also a lot of really awkward places where the gravity changes, and you have to have really good movement, otherwise you'll just stumble and you'll lose an immense amount of time. This first section right here is really tricky to get right. So I'm going to long jump into this gravity field, which will make me go super high up in the next section. And here I'm going to go for a cool Luma bounce to skip having to hit the switch, and I can enter the pipe early. Oh wow, I got robbed there. I'm actually going to wait for the Goomba to come back down so I can go for it again, just because I want to show this off. Nice, I got it. And now here, I'm not in control of the gravity changing at all. Uh-oh. So that's not good because you need to have a consistent strat for getting through here, otherwise you just stumble through here and you lose a lot of time. So because I immediately messed up my movement, I'm basically improvising. Alright, that entire second half was basically improvised. So, that was kind of ugly, but I say it could have gone way worse than that. And I'm actually surprised with how well that worked out. But that star does look pretty impressive if you pull everything off properly, so I'm a little upset about that, but not too much. So we got the secret star to do next, and this is just like a Right Side Down. This is another box-breaking minigame. Getting to the star is getting to the box-breaking minigame is a little bit tricky. There's a finicky Goomba bounce I have to do to get into the pipe. And sometimes the game just flips your direction for no reason during this backflip. So hopefully that doesn't happen here. Alright. And I got it. Nice. Alright, this room is also tricky. You need a good amount of momentum from this fire flower. Alright, I got it. Nice. Now I gotta do this box-breaking minigame. So, I would argue that this minigame is easier to do fast than the one in Right Side Down, but it's a little harder to do casually, but the boxes are more tightly packed together and you don't have to throw them at as many awkward angles. One thing to note out is that the fireballs actually come out of Mario's right hand, not his center. So, if it looks like you lined it up perfectly, you're actually probably slightly off to the left. Alright, unfortunately I messed those boxes up, but it only wastes a little bit of time. As long as you don't fail the minigame, you're fine. You don't lose too much time. That'll be it for Upside Dizzy. And this will be the last time that Lubba brings us down to the bottom of the starship. Or I'm sorry, this will be the last time the Purple Idiot brings us down to the engine room for a power-up. So that's good. And so long. Okay. That's weird. Anyways, so now we're going to be heading off to the second spooky level of the game in Boom Boom Galaxy. This galaxy isn't too interesting for the most part. It has a couple of interesting stuff about it, but it's for the most part just kind of a slow-paced galaxy. This first star especially, there's a lot of snake block auto-scrollers you have to go on. So on this first planet, it's actually faster to only long jump at the beginning and the end. If you try long jumping anywhere else, you lose time because of the way this planet's curved. Alright, that's another planet where you need a frame perfect camera cancel in order to get a landing cancel there. You can also do it with a jump cancel, but that's stupid to go for, so I don't go for it ever. So again, with long jumps you can kind of skip some waiting on these snake block auto scrollers, but some of these can be a little bit tricky, especially if you try to do them optimally. If you long jump just a little bit too early, you'll miss your target and you'll usually fall into that dark matter, and that dark matter instantly kills you. So I just kind of have to ride these snake blocks all the way over here, and there's a comet medal on the way, so I might as well grab it. So I'm actually going to go past this launch star to another set of snake blocks that are past here. And I could ride these all the way over to the star, but that's stupid. I'm just going to long jump straight to the star. Yeah, that skip saves quite a bit of time and also makes that section a bit easier, because having to deal with those Octoboos is terrible, and that snake block moves really, really fast. So I'm very thankful that that skip exists. Alright. So now we're going to do Boo Moon 1. This star also wasn't originally in the any% route. But a few years ago, Nemi found a skip on this star that makes this star faster than Supermassive Secret Star for the route. And it's a pretty cool looking skip. It's also kind of finicky, but we'll get to it there when we get there. And I couldn't do this on Boo Moon Secret because I needed to ride the snake blocks in order to get the comet medal. And also because I just needed to ride them in general in order to get to the Secret Star area. Alright, let's see if I can get the frame perfect camera cancel here. No, I didn't get it. Again, it's 1/60th of a second to time that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here after getting off this snake block here is I'm going to activate this wall so that its gravity field will eventually activate, then turn back around and head to this snake block, and then once the gravity field activates, I'm going to jump onto the side of the snake block. So I'm going to run off, long jump, spin, and then hopefully enter the launch star. Got it. Nice. Alright. Okay, I messed up my movement here. That's not good. Alright, saved it somewhat. Yeah, that skip is kind of awkward, because since the gravity field is different, the directions you have to hold to move are a lot weirder. It doesn't make quite as much sense, but the important thing is that skip works. So here I'm going to try to one cycle getting through this section. That was pretty solid overall. So there's just 1 star left before I can finish off World 5. And it's a pretty easy star, honestly. But first we have this male toad letter. This is the main reason why Boom Moon 1 wasn't originally in the any % route. Because even without the skip, it's relatively fast. But this male toad letter just wastes quite a bit of time. But with the skip, it's fast enough. It also just looks cooler than doing Supermassive, so here is a Shiverburn Comet. This is the 3rd Romp Comet of the game. Or of the run, rather. There's actually only 4 Romp Comets in the game, and we do all of them in any %. So this is killing 30 of those Octuba enemies on the area where Prince Picante was with the Rainbow Star. And there's not really a speed difference between skating or running with the Rainbow Star, but it's easier to turn while running. So what I'm going to do is, after I grab the Rainbow Star, I'm going to skate into it to gain momentum, and then I'm going to jump out of it and just start running. And hopefully if I do this right, I can kill all 30 of these guys on one Rainbow Star. You actually have a little bit of leeway to do this. I think, yeah, it's several seconds remaining by the time I ran out of Rainbow Star. Yeah, that's a pretty straightforward level. But now it's time for one of my least favorite levels in the entire run. So, you probably noticed up until now that we haven't really had to do any motion control based levels like the Fluzzard level or ball rolling minigame levels. That's not gonna change. Those stars are not fast enough. The problem is with Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker, which I'm about to do, because this star involves cannon shots, which are pointer-based. And the 2 cannon shots I have to make in this level have very small targets to aim at. And if you miss them, you're very likely going to die and lose quite a bit of time. This is a very nerve-wracking level late into the run, especially because your hands get super shaky, and then when you press A to fire, your hand twitches and moves ever so slightly. Which just makes this star so terrible when you're on PB pace. And even in a situation like this, the star can be really scary. So to start here, I'm going to lure this bullet bill over here to break up some glass. Because I need to unlock this first cannon. And now I have to make this really precise cannon shot. Uh-oh, that might be too high. Yeah, that was too high. So that was an example of my hand twitched right as I fired the cannon shot, so that's a really bad death, unfortunately. But yeah, that's the harder of the 2 cannon shots for sure. So now I have to set that up again, which is really unfortunate. Basically, I'm trying to aim right at that Boomerang Bro's face. That should be better. I spent a little bit more time setting it up. There we go. That's the worst of the 2 cannon shots to die to, so I'm a little upset about that, but not too much. It happens. This cannon shot's a little bit more lenient. I'm basically going to try to aim for this top in a specific cycle. That should work. And you're supposed to use clouds to get to the end of this section, but that is just a suggestion. I spun way too early there. That was my fault. I got a little hasty with my spin there, so I spun too early. That's really unfortunate. I'll go for that again. Although that cannon shot might be a little bit sketchy. Okay, we're good. This doesn't actually save that much time, but it's a cool looking gun, so I always like to do it. Alright, so that unfortunately lost me a lot of time. And now I have to fight Boomsday, which is a terrible boss. Because this fight either goes well for you or well for Bowser Jr. with no in between. So to start off here, this first phase is pretty self-explanatory. you just basically use the clouds to climb up as quickly as possible. Here I do a little bit of a setup because Bowser Jr. will actually suck the clouds in that time, so you have to kind of wait a little bit before you actually make the clouds, and you also want to dodge those energy spheres. Now this phase you have to move really quickly in order to not screw up and lose a ton of time. Fortunately, I have a pretty consistent setup for getting through there. Alright, so I unfortunately lost like a minute to this split because of those 2 deaths, but it happens. This is a very punishing star. And that first cannon shot is just so nerve-wracking. So we've got one more world left in this run, and that will be World 6. And this is the longest world in the run by far. It takes about 40 minutes, give or take. And this is where runs go to die for sure, if they didn't just die in Boom Bunker, like mine definitely would have. So there's just a lot of really difficult stars in World 6, and there's a lot of difficult tricks that cost you a ton of time if you fail them. And again, deaths here are super costly. So we're coming up on the home stretch here. So the first galaxy we're doing here is Melty Monster. This is the only 3-star galaxy in the run where we're actually going to be collecting all 3 stars in one go, just because we're able to, actually. Normally you aren't. And this galaxy is pretty tough overall. There's a lot of really difficult stuff to do here. So to start, we have Melty Monster 1. There's a lot of difficult movement in this star, a lot of really finicky jumps you have to make, a lot of tight movement. And there's tornadoes on the second planet that are on global cycles from the moment you enter the level. So I have to have really good movement in this pole star section, which can be pretty difficult. Alright, that was okay. The tornado cycle has a couple seconds of leeway, so usually you're not too much of a hurry. And now here we're just going to do a ton of minor platforming skips. Such as right here, I'm going to grab this life mushroom and then just lava boost here to skip all these poles. I should be on pace for the tornado cycle. Nice. So this will allow me to skip 2 tornadoes as opposed to just skipping 1 like I normally would. And now this last planet is pretty bad because every single one of these tiny planets has their own gravity field, so you can be really awkward moving through here. First you have this cool little long jump that if done properly allows you to skip all those first few planets. Here. I'm going to wait for this magma to get out of the way so I can back up to this planet. And for some reason, if you break this crystal on the left side, it's easier than if you break it on the right. Bonk. That was a really good Melty Monster 1. That's a very tough level to pull off, so I'm more than satisfied with how that went. So that's the only Melty Monster level that has lava in it, even though the level's called Melty Monster. The remaining 2 stars are all about using Rock Mario. So first I'm actually going to do Melty Monster 2. We used to do Melty Monster Secret then 2, but similarly to what I did at the start of World 5, it's faster to do Melty Monster 2 than Secret, so that only 2 stars show up on the Star Select menu the second time. So, This star is a really good star to farm star bits from if you're short on star bits or if you need to fill out star bits for your bank toad and you don't need to have an SD card in use. But for the most part, this is basically just rolling around with Rock Mario for about a minute. It's sort of an auto scroll because once you take the ramps, you can't actually stop. And because this is a marathon, I am going to be going for a rather risky strat called a zigzag skip at the very end of the level, where there's normally fences you have to bounce on in that sort of zigzag-like pattern, but you can actually ride across the tiny gaps and skip having to take those fences, but it's pretty precise. You have to have a good positioning and timing and angle switches, and it only saves 3 seconds, and if you fail it, you lose about 45 seconds of the time. So I will go for it once just because this is a marathon. But let's see how this goes. And again, every time I do a jump, I'm going to be spinning just to speed Rock Mario up by a few things. Okay, that was a little sketchy, but it worked. Now I have to actually grab the star, which can be really fickle sometimes. Okay. That was unfortunate. But at least I got the skip. Again, if you die to that skip, you lose a ton of time, and I nearly did, because I didn't change my angle back properly, and I also didn't do it in time. Alright. So I just got one more star left to do here, and it's not too hard of a star. And it's going to be the final chimp challenge of the run, although this one doesn't really have a whole lot of room for guessing points. So this is just a little bit of a bowling minigame that the chimp wants us to do. So there's 56 pins in total, and he wants us to hit at least 50 of them. I am going to intentionally skip 3 because it would require waiting for those 3 pins, and I don't want to do that. There is a strat you can do here that I'm not going to go for because it's extremely risky in a marathon situation, where if you do a spin jump onto the ramp, you can actually deactivate the ramp, and that allows you to jump at the very edge of the ramp and continue rolling when you land on the next platform, as opposed to having to stop like I am every single time. But they're essentially blind jumps, and if you fail them, you're very likely going to die, and it can save a few seconds each time you do it, but I'm not going to bother with it because, again, this is a marathon, and I don't want to risk losing more time. Right. So I should be good on pins here. Because you skip those 3 pins, you can cut it a little bit close, but as long as you're good at lining everything up, it's not too bad. And that'll be it for Melty Monster. So now we can finally move on into the bulk of World 6, thankfully. So, I want to have access to the galaxies later in the top path, but in order to do that, I have to go through Clockwork Ruins. I don't have a whole lot of fast options here. Clockwork Ruins 1 is about 3 minutes long, no. But Clockwork Ruins Secret is a bit of a finicky star. You have to collect 30 coins on this first set of platforms here, and it does take a little bit of time, but once you do that, the star is basically done. So, this star is kind of worth it for the route. But this is a very terrifying star, because if you die on this star, then the cycles are not what you're used to, and they're not fast. So let's not die here. Fortunately, I have a pretty consistent route for going through here. But also getting a lot of coins real quickly. So I looked in first-person mode there for a little bit, just to advance the cycles of the platform up ahead. Yes, I'm thinking that far ahead. There's a bit of a finicky triple jump I can do here. Got it, nice. Now I gotta get 10 points from this item box, which is really convenient, otherwise this star would suck. Now I just gotta get one more coin from this platform. There we go. my 30 coins, and I can feed them all to this hungry Luma. So coming up, we have another pretty interesting planet skip. So you're supposed to go through these hammers and hit a bunch of switches to slow down time, like in Space Storm 2. But just like in Space Storm 2, I'm just going to skip all of that with a somewhat precise triple jump wall kick. Again, this skip is quite a bit easier than going through the level as intended. Alright, I got the optimal version of the skip where you don't need to do a spin after the triple jump. Pretty good level overall. Again, that star can suck pretty hard if you make a tiny mistake and fall off and die, because then your cycles get reset and they're not what you're used to and they're a lot slower. Alrighty. Now, we're going to finally move on to a much better galaxy. So if you've ever played Super Mario 64, this galaxy might look somewhat familiar to you. So this is Throwback Galaxy. This is a homage to Whomp's Fortress from Super Mario 64. This first star is basically a recreation of Chip off Whomp's block, and the Comet Medal is actually where the shoot into the Wild Blue star was. So the movement in this stage, unfortunately, isn't nearly as flashy as it is in SM64, but it's still pretty cool, and it's a nice little homage. So I'm going to take a bit of a detour here to get the Comet Medal here. Now here I'm going to go for a cool little triple jump spin here to hopefully get a ledge hop to get up here, and I got it. Nice. We got some pretty simple movement to get up here. I'm just going to triple jump walk kick up here. So you can actually skip killing this Whomp, but no. It involves standing at the edge of where the Whomp will be when it's about to crush you, and then jumping right as it's about to crush you. And if you time it just right, it'll clip you through the floor, and you can skip having to kill it. But if you fail it, you get squished and die. So it's really not worth it. It only saves like 5 seconds max. So here we have to battle the Whomp King. Unlike SM64, you can't just glitch through him because that would be too easy. We do have to fight this guy somewhat as intended. And he's a lot bigger this time and a little bit more challenging, because we have these little wimp guys to deal with, and they are probably the most annoying enemies ever. It's super easy to get thrown off track in this fight and just die. I should be fine here. Nice, I got the swag jump. So King Whomp is vibrating there, so if you jump when he's vibrating upwards, your jump can gain a lot of height. And it's useless, but it looks cool, so I always like to go for it. And that was a pretty good level. So that'll also net us a couple of fast stars in Throwback Galaxy that we now have access to. Aside from just being a really cool level in general. So this is the last time that the Purple Idiot is going to bring us down to the bottom of the starship for any reason. And also the last time in the run he's going to get a chance to bother us. He's going to try one more time, but we have some big skips coming our way, so stay tuned. So next up is Throwback 2, which is the level where they decided to pay homage to SM64 DS, if you want to remember that game, by having silver stars. Now, they could have placed the silver stars in red coin positions from the original Whomp's Fortress, but instead they just randomly threw them around the level and gave me Cloud Mario, which isn't that bad of a deal, because you can use... there's a pretty interesting movement you can do in the star. This is a very technical star. So the start here, I want to hold A when I bounce off this Bob-omb Buddy so I can get a little bit more height from the bounce. And it doesn't really matter how fast I go here because I have to wait for these platforms to move out of the way. I have to be careful when making this cloud because if I make it too early then I don't get the silver star and I have to wait for the cloud to expire so I can drop down to make a new one. And here I'm going off to the right so that I can get a little bit more momentum from Cloud Mario by long jumping over the abyss. Got some more cloud boosting action coming up here. We got to this Silver Star. That final set of jumps can be somewhat tricky. Sometimes you don't get all the necessary height you need. And now I can just ground pound into the star. Almost. Pretty good level. So we could continue with the top path at this point, but doing that would require going to a galaxy called Battle Belt, which sucks. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to go to the bottom route and dig Flash Black, which is a much faster galaxy and just much better galaxy. So this will be the last of the star bits that we need for the run. So get ready for this big Chungus. Flash Black has a pretty interesting gimmick in it as well. You only get a brief glimpse of what the level looks like every few seconds when the lights come on. But I played this level probably hundreds of times already. I have the layout of this entire level basically memorized, so that's not going to matter to me. This is another star where you get Yoshi, but you don't really have to do any infinite fluttering, thankfully. Instead, we just get one for Yoshi for most of this. So again, as you're about to see here, everything is just pitch black aside from those brief instances where the lights come on and flash, hence the name Flash Black. We got a pretty uninteresting vertical climb here, but there's some things you can do to keep an eye on optimization. Here I'm going to shake out of blunt route using the nunchuck instead of the Wii remote so I can keep my cursor pointed out the next blunt route. And I don't have to deal with my cursor like spazzing out or anything. Alright, there's potentially really cool movement coming up here if I can pull this off. Got it. That's a really cool looking strat. And now we just have some silver stars to collect. Nothing too much to say here. This yellow platform is weird. It's always on a different cycle every time I get here. Alright, that was a really good level. It's not too much to it, but all's well that ends well. And we've had a lot of action-packed stars for the past 2 hours and 40 minutes or so, but now we get a pretty good Resident Sleeper level. This is definitely the very well-needed calm before the storm level, because after this star we go into a horrible gauntlet of comets that are really difficult. And this star is basically just 2 minutes of swimming underwater with the shell, so there's really not much I have to say about it. So I'm going to try and fill the void with talking. This will also have the last comet medal of the run that I need to collect. So I guess for the next, 2 minutes or so, if anybody has any questions about this game in general, just go ahead and ask me. I don't usually respond to chat during marathon runs, but since I've got nothing better to say and I'm not in the call with the hosts, I'll go ahead and accept questions from chat if you have any. There is a slope boost I'm going to go for at the start of this level, though. This is the final slope boost of the run. Got it. Nice. And now we begin the Resident Sleeperness. Literally the only reason this makes the cut is because it's better than Battle Belt. And we have to go through one of the paths in order to get to Bowser's Galaxy Generator, and so the bottom path just happens to be better. This next section, I'll go try a little bit of an optimization. So I'm going to try to complete the star coinless by going through the very edges of these coin rings. These coin bubbles have pretty big hitboxes though, so I'm probably going to grab one of them and ruin it. And also, while doing this, it's super easy to have your shell just ram into a wall. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to have to deal with the 1 second text box after this star. Not the end of the world though. There is a pretty cool strat at the end of this star though that I'm going to try and get. You need to have a pretty decent lineup for this, but it looks pretty cool if you get it. Okay, that almost missed, but it worked. I'm happy. If you miss that, there is a shell, like, just a few feet away from you, so it doesn't lose that much time, but it's kind of embarrassing to miss that. And there we go. So that's the last normal star I'm going to be collecting in the run. The last 6 stars of this run are going to be all comets. I'm going to be collecting 2 from World 3, 2 from World 4, and 2 from World 6, and that'll get us to 70 stars. And then from there we can go to Bowser's Galaxy Generator and finish off the game. And I am good on power medals. 32 is the magic number. So we're ready to embark on the home stretch of the run here. But this is definitely full of late game run enders. Like, this run is far from over yet. This run is still far from over. So first we're going to go to World 3 to do Honey Hall's Comet. Due to routing nonsense, that's way too complicated for me to explain here. I need this to be a buffer star for B-Block Comet and Gravity Gauntlet Comet. So that's why I'm doing this star now when I could have done it way, way, way earlier. So this is basically the last half of Honey Hall's 2, but with Cosmic Clones. It's still just a bunch of long jumps, although the cycles are slightly different. Hopefully this level will go a bit more smoothly. I'd say this is the cycles here are a bit more manageable to deal with. You just gotta make sure you don't get thrown off here. Okay, I was almost a little too far back there. Oh, okay. So sometimes if you jump on the very edge of between 2 of those little moving platforms there, your long jump gets cut short by a random invisible ceiling, and I have no idea why that happens. I have actually died because of that before, because it threw me off, but I caught it just in time, and I was able to save myself. I have no idea why that happens. Yeah, that was really terrifying for a brief moment. So now we have the massive late game run enders incoming. We got 2 of them back to back here. So B-Block Comet outright lies to you because it says that the blocks are transitioning in double time, but if you remember B-Block 1, they transitioned every 8 beats of the song. Now they transition every other beat. So, yeah, it's... Cycles, thankfully, don't matter nearly as much here because of that, but you still want to go as fast as possible. Also, Yoshi is in the star. He wasn't in here in B-Block 1, but he is now, so we can use him for another infinite flutter shortcut. Nice jump cancel. That doesn't actually matter that much. Hopefully I can grab this checkpoint on the way for safety. This section's really scary. Hopefully the blocks don't switch at the last second here to throw me off. I'm gonna constantly shake my mirror to try and get a spin here. Nice. Alright, we're good. It's super easy to get thrown off there and just die. So that star is kind of bad. This star is objectively way worse. This is probably one of the worst late game run enders of this speed run. So the next star we're going to do is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet's Comet. So if you remember in Gravity Gauntlet 1, we did the behind the castle skip. Now you're going to actually get to see me do the other skip, which is quite a bit faster, but it's way more finicky. So the basic premise of this skip is whenever you hit a lava wall, as opposed to hitting a lava floor, and then hit the lava again, you get a ton of horizontal speed, and you can use this for another gravity exploit, but you have to do very specific inputs in the air in order to not die, and dying to the skip wastes about 30 to 35 seconds each time it happens, and there's a lot of ways the skip can go wrong, so this isn't really RNG, but get your plus RNGs out anyways, because it can be kind of fickle. Right, so here goes nothing. Very little faith in this. That's very, very unfortunate. So if you land either too far left on the platform or too far up, sometimes that happens. You just fall through the floor and die. That's very unfortunate. And I have actually lost a PB pace run to that happening 3 times in a row. So I got the skip, but then the game said no. That's basically what happened. That's a little bit better, I think. Oh, really now? You're supposed to transition from holding right to left to up left at specific intervals of the ball. And holding left is meant to slow you down, and if you hold left for too long, then that can happen, but I didn't think I held left for that long. Well, this is really bad. I haven't messed this skip up this many times in a while. So third time's the charm, hopefully. Oh, okay, I guess not. I'm upset, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, I'm gonna go for the skip until I get it, just because it's way too cool looking, and I've already kind of committed to it. Hopefully this doesn't take me too many tries. That's better, I think. What? Okay, I'm a little confused now. Alright. I don't really know what to do now, other than just keep trying this, because I don't really want to do behind the castle again. Alright, well, I guess we're stuck here trying this for another few minutes. Okay, that's it. I'm just going to do behind the castle. I'm way more consistent at that trick anyways, and I've already lost a colossal amount of time to this. I don't honestly know why I'm messing this up so much. This skip normally isn't that hard for me. Alright. So I'm going to just do behind the castle. So I don't normally do this in runs, ever. Alright, there we go. That was extremely upsetting. I have no idea why that skip gave me so much trouble. Whatever. I'll take the 2.5 minute time loss to something that really isn't my fault. At least I'm past it. I don't know what happened there at all. Yeah, love it. So now I have a couple of easy stars, thankfully, because I'm going to need a break after what just happened. So, Starshine Beach Comet, there's 140 purple coins, and you can get 100 on Dash Yoshi. This star is one of the easiest stars in the run, and so it was definitely worth it getting the Comet Medal earlier. So, this star is kind of finicky though, because you do have to make tiny adjustments to your control stick movement in order to not miss too many of the purple coins. And I want to miss as few as possible so I can do a little shortcut later on. I think I should be fine. Yeah. So I'm going to cut around this tower instead of going to the left of it. Alright. Alright. So now we've just got the 2 comets left in World 6, and then the run will be, then we'll have 70 stars and we can move on. So Throwback Comet, if you remember Throwback 2, this is basically the exact same thing. There just happens to be a timer at the bottom of the screen. And the only major difference in this star is that the cycles at the beginning are slightly different because of the different camera angles in the opening cutscenes. Yeah, this star is pretty much the exact same thing other than that. I do have to have pretty good movement here in order to make the cycle. That doesn't matter too much because, again, I have to wait here anyways, so I'm not losing that much time from that. You also have to be pretty quick there because if you don't get out there quick enough, then the platform will be above you and you have to go back out and not lose in a few seconds. Let's see if I get the ground pound into the star this time. Nope, just a little too far away. Alright, there's just 1 star left, and that's going to be Flash Black's Comet. This might seem like an anticlimactic 70th star, but the nice thing is that this star kind of forces you to utilize the task of the skill of multitasking, because there are 3 ways you can kill the Octumas in this star, and you have to kind of choose which one is the best one on the fly. You can either jump on them, spin attack them, or shoot them with a starbit and then kick them. For most of them, I'm going to be shooting them with starbits. You have to be able to pick up starbits, aim them, fire them, keep track of your starbit counter, and control Mario all at the same time, while making sure you make the right decisions needed to attack the Octumbas. So let's see how this goes. If you miss a shot, then you have to kind of react to it in time, or else you'll just run into them and you get hit. And you get Yoshi in this final section here, so you can use his tongue to eat enemies up. Alright. So now we just have the final level left, but Lubba wants to bother us one more time before we go into the final battle. He wants to give us motivation, tell us it's the final battle, and we've got to get ready and stuff, but I don't really have time to listen to the Purple Idiot's crap right now. So we're going to do this really, really hard skip called Purple Idiot Skip that was found by Odd Me in late 2015. Where you just do that. So instead of, there's a cutscene on the space before the Bowser's Galaxy Generator space, but if you click on the Bowser's Galaxy Generator space with the Wii remote, instead of moving there with the nunchuck, you skip over the cutscene. So I just saved 35 seconds and you didn't even realize it. Alright, so this is a pretty cool final level here. There's a lot of really cool tricks you get to do in here. This is also another great place where runs can go to die. I do not know how I hit that part there. So I'm going to have to kill a hammer bro in the next section to get a coin, because I'm going to be doing another lava wall boost here. So this is a lot easier than the one in Gravity Gauntlet combat, as you can see. And that just skips having to kill those hammer bros. Now I'm going to intentionally lose the drill so that I can spin after jumping, and also so I can long jump, and I can just get on top of this bonsai bill launcher and just skip over the entire rest of the section. Right, this next section is really difficult to do without making a big mistake that costs you a lot of time. There's a lot of platform movement here though. So now we're coming up on what I personally think is the coolest Infinite Flutter in the run, and of course I lost that cloud. This Infinite Flutter skips basically the entire rest of the level, saves about 40 seconds, but it's a kind of risky one to go for. It's not quite the hardest Infinite Flutter there is, but it's up there. But because of the 10-second cooldown, I actually have to do this flutter in 2 parts, so the first part is just getting up here. And then I have the Infinite Flutter over this giant pool of lava and dismount at the very end. Uh-oh. So I would have gone for a strawberry wind on this top platform here, but I somehow lost a lot of height. But I still made it, which is really all that matters. And now we have the final Bowser fight, which is another really horrible late game run ender. So Bowser goes back to dropping 3 meteors in this fight, but the main problem with this fight is that he's a lot quicker to pull out his punches, so you have to be a lot more faster to react. And it's super easy to miss hits in this fight, and again, every missed hit is about 20 seconds. So this is an easy place for runs to go to die. 3 hours in. This twice again here. I'm going to set up for another punch cancel like I did in a Gravity Gauntlet. So basically I'm just going to wait for him to charge with a punch attack. Alright, that definitely worked. Alright, now for these 3rd and 4th hits, Bowser pulls out his fists very, very quickly. So you have very little time to react here. Another thing that can happen is if you hit Bowser too late, you can actually cancel him you can actually cancel his attack while he's summoning the meteors, and then cancel that phase by accident. So when Bowser slams his fist into the ground, there's no meteors for you to ground pound to hit him, and then you lose another 20 seconds. So for this 3rd hit, you have to be ridiculously quick on the meteor. But I got really lucky and Bowser punched right next to that meteor. fight. So there's one more phase to the fight here, because the game kind of baits you into thinking that the game's over here, because Bowser should totally be dead, right? Well, you're going to kind of get a psych here in a moment. So there's still a little bit of game left. Well, first we got to sit through a few really silly animations. So this final fight is ridiculously easy. You basically just ground pound meteors into Bowser 4 times and win. Bowser's one attack drops a coin, so it's really impossible to die in this fight. So there's one. You can miss fight hits here too, so it's yeah. Alright. So time's going to be coming up in about 50 seconds or so. It's going to be when I touch the final Grand Star. If I sounded kind of depressed for the last 13 minutes or so of this run, that's because I was. I'm very, very disappointed with how that Gravity Gauntlet Comet went. Because this would have been like a 304. And if it weren't for that minute time loss on a Boon Bunker, this would have been like a 303. My PB is a 301.51. I am currently second place, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm disappointed with this run. This kind of time I should get in the reset list. And really, it just was because of the 2.5 minutes lost on the Gravity Gauntlet Comet. So get ready on time. And time. So my timer says 3:07:02. Alright. I guess GG's. But we're not done yet, because I have a donation incentive that I need to fulfill. Because you guys want me to do the perfect run, so I'm going to do the perfect